Professor Luo, several months have passed, and you are still as spirited as ever. When was the last time we met? Oh, right. It was during the recruitment month in August. Ren Zhonghai laughed as he exchanged pleasantries with Elder Luo, making a pointed emphasis on August, a clear attempt to evoke the moment right before SSR Ho Chenggu left for Qingzhou University after making a special visit to Liangzhou University. In his view, since Liangzhou University's SSR student was snatched away, they were probably still holding a grudge, filled with envy, jealousy, and resentment, right? However, Elder Luo laughed heartily and with open cheerfulness. Oh, August, yes. August was indeed a delightful month. How could he not know why Ren Zhonghai was emphasizing August? Was it not because SSR Awakener Ho Chenggu chose Qingzhou University over Liangzhou University? What a trivial matter. To Elder Luo, having recruited Xiang Beifei in August was already a cause for joy. As for SSR Ho Chenggu, he was no longer of any consequence. Compared to his own little white crane, Chenggu was nothing but a mere caterpillar. Seeing Elder Luo looking so pleased, Ren Zhonghai paused, taken aback, and thought to himself, has this guy gone senile? Has he forgotten the embarrassment his school faced this year? Liangzhou University didn't get a single SSR among the freshmen, and they were bottom feeders in the rookie competition. Is he pretending to be calm? I'd like to see how long he can keep up this act. With a beaming smile, Ren Zhonghai pulled Ho Chenggu closer and introduced him. Let me introduce everyone. This is my disciple I recruited this year, SSR Ho Chenggu, one of the two gifted SSR freshmen we have. I'm sure the professors from Liangzhou University are quite familiar with him. Yi Chongfeng's brow furrowed slightly, and even Yu Qixin raised an eyebrow. Your journey continues at Empire. And Wei Tong's expression was even more unpalatable. SSR Ho Chenggu. He was the SSR-level freshman originally set to join their Liangzhou University, and it was Wei Tong himself who went to Chengwu's home, planning to have him enroll at Liangzhou University. Both being SSR students, Wei Tong thought he had convinced Chengwu until Liangzhou University recruited N-level newcomer Xiang Beifei, allowing Ren Zhonghai to persuasively make Chengwu reconsider and snatch him away, reaping all the benefits at the last moment. As the dean of the Martial Arts College of Liangzhou University, Wei Tong took great pride in his reputation. This year, among the 9 elite universities, each of the other 8 had at least one SSR-level freshman, with Qingzhou University even boasting 2, while his Liangzhou University had none, and on top of that, had recruited an N-level student that no other school would want. They were already the laughingstock among the other 8 sister universities. As a dean, Wei Tong didn't even know what Xiang Beifei's current cultivation level was. Even if this N-level freshman was a powerful body cultivator, what use was it? Did he care about the strength of a body cultivator? He didn't care one bit. He cared about the reputation of the college he managed. He cared about his own face. He cared about how he could stand tall and proud in front of the other 8 deans of the martial arts colleges. Having an N-level freshman meant he was doomed to endure the ridicule of the other deans. Haha! Dean Wei, it's been a while. I guess you remember Ho Chenggu, don't you? Ren Zhonghai deliberately mentioned. President Ren, long time no see. Ho Chenggu. Of course I remember. Wei Tong smiled on the surface, but his heart grew even more irritated with Xiang Beifei. This N-level guy not only failed to help me complete my task, but now he's also made me lose face in front of the other deans. Greetings, Dean Wei. Ho Chenggu greeted Wei Tong. Wei Tong had visited his house in August. Being an SSR and a dean, Chenggu didn't dare to be too impolite, but his expression still revealed a hint of disdain for Liangzhou University. After a while, his gaze suddenly landed on Xiang Beifei, and he was a bit startled. Eh? Isn't that my shadow servant? Ho Chenggu recognized Xiang Beifei. Before coming to Qingzhou University, he had visited Liangzhou University and met Xiang Beifei, whose system had determined that Beifei was a body cultivator with immense potential, so he had bound him as a servant. The Shadow Saint system operated by plundering the cultivation of others to sustain itself. Back then, when Ho Chenggu discovered Xiang Beifei's potential rating of 8, he stepped on Beifei's shadow and plundered 30 points of strength and 23 points of speed from him, He had since forgotten about it, but now he remembered that he still had this N-level shadow servant. He's probably here to take part in the freshman competition, which should be interesting. I can hardly wait to show him who's boss on stage. Thinking of binding Xiang Beifei, a smug smile appeared on Ho Chengwu's lips. His Shadow Saint system wasn't simply about silently stealing someone else's cultivation and strength. The most crucial aspect was the ability to control the other person. The meaning of shadow servant is that he's the servant of my shadow. Ha ha ha. Ho Chengwu's thoughts grew more triumphant as he anticipated meeting Xiang Beifei on stage. If he just stepped on his shadow, he could control him, and with a single command, Beifei would have to kneel and admit defeat. This would be a tremendous insult to Liangzhou University, further proving the wisdom of his decision to reject the invitation to enroll at Liangzhou University. Ho Chengwu became increasingly impatient. If it weren't for the many inscrutably powerful teachers around him, which made him wary of being noticed, he would undeniably have made a move against Xiang Beifei right then and there. Isn't this the legendary N-level genius freshman from Liangzhou University, that one named Xiang Nanfei, right? Ren Jianghai also saw Xiang Beifei and looked him over with surprise. Xiang Nanfei? As soon as this remark was said, the atmosphere turned awkward. Ren Jianghai actually knew Xiang Beifei's name. This top scorer from Zhuzhou, the only N-level student among the 9 elite universities, had caused a commotion recently and even made the news in Zhuzhou. His name was well known. How could the president of the Martial Arts College of Qingzhou University not know it? He had done it deliberately. Xiang Beifei looked at Ren Jianghai thoughtfully, his expression unruffled. His name is Xiang Beifei, Yi Changfeng corrected coolly from the side. Oh, sorry. Ren Jianghai slapped his forehead, rushed to say, look at my memory. So it's Xiang Beifei. Haha, I'm getting old. I've got it now. But speaking of which, Ren Jianghai looked at Elder Luo with a playful and meaningful glance. At the Martial Arts College, a student's name isn't important. What counts is their strength, right? His words clearly intended to tell Elder Luo that this year's freshman from Liangzhou University would still be overshadowed by Qingzhou University, even placing last. A cold light flashed in Elder Luo's eyes. He knew Ren Jianghai was deliberately trying to insult Xiang Beifei, belittling him while also provoking Luo, and was about to lash out and scold Ren Jianghai. But Xiang Beifei beat him to it. That's correct. Xiang Beifei's voice was extremely polite. The last time we met, I didn't know the president's full name and didn't have the chance to introduce myself. My apologies. But my name is Xiang Beifei. I've seen Ren Haili throw into the sea, president. No sooner had Xiang Beifei's words fallen than everyone paused. Ren Haili? Ren Haili? Even Ren Jianghai's facial expression stalled for a moment. He hadn't expected Xiang Beifei to dare to use his name like that. Ren Jianghai was well known as the president of the Martial Arts College of Qingzhou University with high cultivation. For a mere N-level freshman to take liberties with his name, Ren Jianghai's face darkened immediately. Ho Chengwu shouted from the side, "How dare you spout nonsense in front of our president? You don't even recognize our president's name? Are you courting death?" Xiang Beifei turned to inquire doubtfully at Elder Luo. "Professor, didn't you tell me his name was Ren Haili?" Elder Luo chuckled beside him, then said, "His name is Ren Jianghai. Well, this surname should be pronounced Ren, not throw. But Ren Jianghai, throw into the river, throw into the sea. Elder Luo, I always found your name interesting." "Ha ha." He laughed heartily, then patted Xiang Beifei's shoulder. "Beifei, I was just talking big about throwing him into the sea. You shouldn't take my jokes seriously." Elder Luo of course knew that Xiang Beifei was doing it on purpose. As the valedictorian with the top score, Beifei definitely knew how to pronounce the surname Ren. But with Xiang Beifei's remark, he immediately knew how to play along with his students' words. Elder Luo was not one to care about saving face. He didn't have that kind of reserve expected of his elders, and would say whatever he wanted to without hiding it, even in front of juniors. Ho Chenggu saw that professor from Liangzhou University was also joking in such a manner and was momentarily taken aback. He could reprimand the students of Liangzhou, but when it came to professors from Liangzhou poking fun at Ren Zhanghai's name, he was helpless. It wasn't his place to interrupt when the older generation joked amongst themselves. "Oh, sorry. It's President Ren Zhanghai. It's my ignorance. My master likes to joke around, and I let it mislead me. Even getting the surname wrong, that's inexcusable. I didn't do my homework well. It's my fault. I ask President Ren not to take offense at a junior like me." Xiang Beifei's face was a picture of contrition as he shifted the blame onto Elder Luo. After a moment, Xiang Beifei looked at Ren Zhanghai and slowly said, "I usually only hear of our Professor Luo's great reputation at Liangzhou University and don't pay much attention to teachers from other colleges. But speaking of which, the name of a teacher at the martial arts college doesn't matter in how it's pronounced. What counts is their strength, right? Find more chapters on Empire. This conversation, why does it sound so familiar?" Yi Changfeng and the others had a strange look on their faces. Li Zimu and Ma Ziqian were also watching Xiang Beifei with astonishment. This very sentence had been uttered by Ren Zhanghai after he purposefully mispronounced Xiang Beifei's name. Xiang Beifei actually used Ren Zhanghai's own words to shut him up. He fought fire with fire. "Ha ha ha. That's right. These words are not only useful for you students but also hold true for us teachers. President Ren definitely understands this better than anyone else. Don't worry. He's so reasonable. He won't mind you getting the name wrong." Luo Lauda laughed, quickly sealing off the excuse Ren Zhanghai had for making things difficult and putting the protection squarely on Xiang Beifei. This kid really has the nerve to say it. Yi Changfeng's smile was playing at the corners of his mouth, knowing that Xiang Beifei liked to say things in a stinging manner sometimes. He himself was often left speechless by Xiang Beifei's barbs, but he never expected Xiang Beifei to dare to challenge even the president of the martial arts college at Qingzhou University. Youth to be feared. The weirdest part was that Xiang Beifei directly shifted the blame for his mistake to Elder Luo, and then Elder Luo happily took on the responsibility, shouldering it with glee. This collaboration between the old and the young, in perfect harmony, was like a well-rehearsed double act. Ren Zhanghai stared at Xiang Beifei, anger flickering in his eyes. However, he couldn't refute. He wanted to lash out at Xiang Beifei, but Beifei had already admitted the mistake, saying he was ignorant and mentioned that it was because Luo Lao Tu often joked around, which led to the mispronunciation. Hence, Elder Luo should bear the responsibility. As for deliberately getting the name wrong, it was Ren Zhanghai who started that, and he was the one who first talked about the moral high ground. Xiang Beifei was merely repeating the philosophy that Ren himself had just espoused. If he made a fuss now, wouldn't he appear small-minded? What's more, the phrase for the teachers at the martial arts college, "Strength is most important," sounded particularly grating to his ears, because Professor Luo's strength was indeed much greater than his. And that was a fact. How could he argue against it? Was he supposed to prove it by fighting? However, Ho Chenggu by his side was seething with anger. "You're just a lowly N-level student. Being ignorant is one thing, but to spout such nonsense here? Bringing up strength? When it comes to strength, even across the whole Zhuzhou, President Ren's reputation is well known. Which teacher from the 9 universities would dare to compare themselves with our President Ren? Liangzhou University can manage that." After Ho Chenggu finished, Ren Zhanghai himself almost couldn't take it. If comparing with other college presidents and professors, President Ren's strength was undoubtedly top-notch. There was nothing wrong with that statement. But compared to Professor Luo truly had a level of strength that could overshadow Ren. Professor Luo's strength was unanimously recognized in the alliance as someone not to provoke. That was someone not even SSRs, let alone URs, would dare to casually provoke. And Ho Chenggu was completely oblivious to this. Ren Zhanghai felt his face heat up in embarrassment, almost unable to resist covering Ho Chenggu's mouth. Ignorance is not scary. What's terrifying is defending ignorance with righteous indignation. Ren Zhanghai, though annoyed at Xiang Beifei, was old and cunning. He was very clear that Xiang Beifei had not really been ignorant of his name, but had intentionally feigned ignorance to counterattack. Honestly, even though he had been disparaged by Xiang Beifei, he had to admit that this N-level student was sharp-tongued and quick-witted. But Ho Chenggu, he wasn't pretending to be ignorant, he was truly ignorant. He had absolutely no clue what the name Luo Yunxian implied. If it weren't for knowing Ho Chenggu's character, Ren Jianghai almost thought that Ho Chenggu was colluding with Xiang Beifei, deliberately using backhanded compliments to mock him. Xiang Beifei watched Ho Chenggu thoughtfully, and after a long pause, he laughed. "So you don't know Liangzhou University's Professor Luo? Let me tell you about him." He pointed at the old man who was cheerfully oblivious nearby and introduced him with all seriousness. Back in the day, our Liangzhou University's Professor Luo, bearing the responsibility of the chief commander of the Zhuzhou Alliance, led countless martial artists to valiantly resist the invading beast tide, turned the tide, and repelled the onslaught. He's an upright and just individual who once executed an SSR-ranked person on the battlefield for being arrogant, disobeying orders, and breaking the rules. Have you ever heard of what my master did? Xiang Beifei looked at Ho Chenggu with an unfazed expression. What? The chief commander? And he killed an SSR. Ho Chenggu was shocked and looked at Professor Luo in horror. The title of chief commander signified enormous strength, suitable only for the most potent individuals. And indeed, he had never heard of this past event. Ren Jianghai had never mentioned it to him. To be honest, many people weren't even aware of Elder Luo killing the SSR. Ho Chenggu, being an SSR himself, looked down on those with lesser system talents, since his own future was bright, allowing him to command the wind and summon the rain. That's why he dared to accept the advantages offered by Liangzhou University and then reject their invitation to enroll, knowing that, as an SSR, he could break the rules and go back on his promises without Liangzhou University holding him accountable. But he never expected that the SR-ranked professor he had offended would dare to kill an SSR, especially one who had broken the rules. Seeing your reaction, you must not have heard of it. The once awe-inspiring figure of the Zhuzhou Alliance is standing right before you, and you've never even heard of his past deeds. Do you have the face to yell and shout here? My master has always despised anyone who doesn't follow the rules, who is fickle and faithless. A person like that, no matter how high their SSR talent, is useless. Fellow student, wouldn't you agree? Xiang Beifei spoke very casually, but each word was a warning to Ho Chenggu, mocking and threatening him, because the person he described as fickle and faithless was none other than Ho Chenggu. Ho Chenggu gasped in fright and continued to stare at Professor Luo, utterly terrified. He wasn't a fool and understood very well that Xiang Beifei was indirectly admonishing him. As an SSR, he had been conceited since his awakening ceremony, full of arrogance, not taking anyone else seriously. Back when Professor Luo was making a name for himself on the battlefield, he was just an ignorant kid. Now that Professor Luo had retired and was no longer a dean, merely an idle security guard, he had even less reason to know about the professor's past. Now, with Xiang Beifei's reminder, his entire body was drenched in a cold sweat. Yes, he was an SSR, but the person Professor Luo killed was an SSR too. Moreover, an SSR who broke the rules just like his actions. That would mean... Ho Chengwu's breathing changed, sweat pouring down, and he involuntarily took 2 steps back, watching Professor Luo with a look of horror. Elder Luo was delighted, thinking to himself, "My little white crane is on the right track. Oh, so perfectly on track." He practically wanted to hoist Xiang Beifei up high in celebration. Last time in August, he hadn't fully grasped Xiang Beifei's talent, so when he recruited the N-ranked Xiang Beifei, he was ridiculed by other universities' recruiters and couldn't prove his point of view, which was frustrating. But today, Xiang Beifei's words not only bashed Ren Jianghai but also warned the self-entitled Ho Chenggu, clearly aiming to vent his feelings. He spoke bluntly, leaving Ren Jianghai swallowing bitterness. The threat and warning left Ho Chenggu both terrified and apprehensive. Although Elder Luo wouldn't seriously kill someone for the kind of unethical behavior displayed by Ho Chenggu, in his eyes, it amounted to the naivete of an ignorant brat. Not a capital offense, but Elder Luo was thrilled. His disciple had stood up for him. How could he not feel gratified? Yi Changfeng also couldn't help but smile. This kid, the way he talks and acts, seems never to have suffered a loss, he said. Yi Changfeng was usually sensible and proper since, as a university professor, he couldn't be too impulsive in his actions or words. But Xiang Beifei was less constrained. After all, he was already an N-ranked nobody, criticized by many, so he spoke his mind freely. If Ren Zhonghai dared to trouble Xiang Beifei, the protective little white crane at his side would immediately spread his wings. Opposite them, Ren Zhonghai, who had known Elder Luo for many years, was well aware of the latter's temper. Usual snide remarks here and there wouldn't prompt Elder Luo to act. The old man might be a bit rough but wouldn't touch the bottom line and would at most curse a bit. But if he, as an elder, attacked his junior, he would have no ground to stand on. Elder Luo, on the other hand, had no such qualms. He was more than willing to find a pretext to give Ren Zhonghai a good thrashing. Ren Zhonghai would surely be beaten so badly in full view of everyone that he'd doubt his life choices. By then, the reputation of Ren Zhonghai from Qingzhou University's martial arts college would be truly tarnished beyond recovery. Ren Zhonghai's expression was one of anger. His attempt to mock Liangzhou University had backfired because of Xiang Beifei's rebuke, and he felt like he had shot himself in the foot. What he couldn't accept even more was that his talented SSR student, Ho Chengguo, had been frightened into paleness by a mere N-ranked Xiang Beifei's words. The N-level student spoke with reason and composure, clearly very smart yet feigning ignorance to counterattack. Xiang Beifei knew this, but just couldn't find an excuse to blow up. Whereas his own SSR student, Ho Chengguo, spoke without any logic, only knew how to shout and scream, became frustrated and angry, and in the end even got intimidated. Comparing the two, Ren Zhonghai felt as if he had picked up an SSR student who was more like a simpleton. Ho Chengguo was still there, worrying and frightened. Ren Zhonghai pulled him impatiently behind himself, then coldly said, "But since you understand that strength is the most important for a martial arts college student, I hope you won't disappoint us during the competition on the stage." Being pulled by Ren Zhonghai like that also snapped Ho Chengguo back to reality. He cursed himself for a fool for having been scared. Now that he was a Qingzhou University student, Ren Zhonghai would naturally protect his own, and that Professor Luo surely wouldn't dare to touch him. He could completely crush that N-level trash under his feet during the freshman competition. But he still glanced at Professor Luo cautiously, feeling very uncertain in his heart. Did this old man really kill SSRs that didn't follow the rules? Doesn't he know that SSRs are very rare? Elder Luo said nonchalantly from the side, "Ren Zhonghai, what are you whining about? Is this the hospitality of Qingzhou University? Leaving us hanging at the school gate, spouting a bunch of nonsense? Qingzhou University really is welcoming." Ren Zhonghai couldn't say much in response. Although he looked down on Liangzhou University's team on the surface, they were still guests after all, and he couldn't risk offending them. So he forced a smile and said, "My apologies. Please come with me. We've already arranged accommodations for you. This way, please." Ren Zhonghai purposefully took them to the school's guest house. Despite his disdain and mocking, the place provided for the visitors was very attentive. In the university, there was normally a large guest house used as an academic exchange center, with the rooms well prepared without any differential treatment. As the dean of Qingzhou University's martial arts college, Ren Zhonghai still had a sense of propriety. As teams from elite universities, one could not afford to favor one over the other and tarnish the reputation of the host. Of course, the main reason was the fear of being beaten up by Professor Luo. By the way, Dean Wei, not all the other brother schools have arrived completely. After everyone has arrived tonight, we need to have a meeting to discuss the specifics of tomorrow's competition, and we will need you to attend on time, said Ren Zhonghai. Certainly. Wei Tong pondered slightly. He looked at Ren Zhonghai and then at Xiang Beifei. Xiang Beifei's performance just now did not please him much, nor did it bring him any pride. After Ren Zhonghai finished speaking, he took Ho Chengguo and left the school's guest house. On the way back, Ho Chengguo was still seething with resentment, saying, "Professor, that N-level awakener was so rude. Are we just going to let it go? If you didn't want to let it go, Why didn't you retort just now? Ren Zhonghai retorted. I. Ho Qingguo was at a loss for words. He hadn't thought of how to reply to Xiang Beifei's questioning just now. His systemic abilities hadn't taught him how to handle social interactions. After a moment, Ho Qingguo clenched his teeth and said, Dean, during tomorrow's individual competition, when Qingzhou University is up against Liangzhou University, can you let me go on stage? I can't bear this humiliation. I want to crush Liangzhou University thoroughly. During the individual competition, each school would only face off once, and Qingzhou University was bound to encounter Liangzhou University, but who to send on stage had not been fully determined yet, as it needed to be analyzed on the spot tomorrow. Whether the competition will be in the Meridian opening or Qi controlling stages has not been decided, and they may not necessarily send that Xiang Beifei. From the information we've gathered, he is said to be a body cultivator and unbeatable among the freshmen of Liangzhou University. Such a person is certainly reserved for weaker schools than using him against us at Qingzhou University, said Ren Zhonghai. In the battles between schools, considering the opponent was crucial, Qingzhou University had two unparalleled SSRs in strength. If Liangzhou University were to face Qingzhou University and the dice rolled for a Meridian opening stage competition, he believed that if Liangzhou University were wise, they would concede. It doesn't matter who they send. If it's the Meridian opening stage, I must go on stage and humiliate them thoroughly. To vent your frustration, Ho Qingguo clenched his fists. Rather than venting for Ren Zhonghai, it was more about proving himself. He had rejected the invitation from Liangzhou University to join Qingzhou University, and naturally, he needed to show everyone that his choice was correct. So he must face Liangzhou University. Ren Zhonghai pondered for a moment, considering that Ho Qingguo's current strength was at the early stage of Meridian opening, which was more than enough to deal with a group of Liangzhou University students with a maximum cultivation of late-stage Qi controlling. He then nodded slightly and said, All right, if there's a chance, I'll let you go up against the students from Liang University. After a pause, he snorted coldly, Don't hold back. Understood. Ho Qingguo sneered. What he most hoped for now was that Liangzhou University would send Xiang Beifei, so he could thoroughly humiliate him. Everyone else went back to their rooms, but Elder Luo hummed a tune all the way to Xiang Beifei's room and pushed the door open. Good lad. That was really satisfying to see. Just look at Ren Zhonghai's sour face. Ha ha ha. Elder Luo's happiness unfolded all his wrinkles. He had thought that owing to Liangzhou University not having any SSR students, he would have to endure Ren Zhonghai's snide mockery again today. But he didn't expect Xiang Beifei to be so bold as to talk back without any courtesy, and to use Ren Zhonghai's own words to counter him no less. Leaving Ren Zhonghai wanting to explode but unable to, Xiang Beifei spread his hands and said, I did say last time that I would stand up for you. Ha ha ha, right? Just like that. If someone displeases you, give it to them straight. From now on, I've decided to call him Throw into the Sea. Elder Luo was straightforward by nature and had long been irked by Ren Zhonghai. Every year, the students Ren Zhonghai brought out were able to defeat those from Liangzhou University, leaving Elder Luo grinding his teeth in frustration, not knowing how to respond. But today, Xiang Beifei had taught him exactly how to confront such people who enjoyed being passive-aggressive. You should still take it easy. Every time you call him Throw into the Sea, he'll grow another grudge against Xiang Beifei. At that moment, Yi Changfeng walked in from outside, closed the door, and gave a friendly reminder. Elder Luo glared. To him, Yi Changfeng's words sounded like a buzzkill. After a moment's pause, he suddenly remembered something, stopped, and asked seriously, If I don't call him Throw into the Sea, you think he'd regard our Beifei any more highly? Yi Changfeng hesitated for a moment and then said, That wouldn't happen. Then why should I be polite to him? Elder Luo retorted. Yi Changfeng? Why did Elder Luo's way of speaking sound so familiar? Soon, Yi Changfeng suddenly remembered. Back when Xiang Beifei was taking the entrance exam, Yi Changfeng had told him that he should still be a bit nicer to Yu Qixin. And then Xiang Beifei responded in just this way. Unexpectedly, Elder Luo directly picked it up. You sure pick things up quickly, Yi Changfeng said, rubbing his forehead with a headache. Out of all things to learn, he had to pick up such nonsensical talk. At his age, still not acting with propriety. Ha ha ha. I found this kid's way of speaking quite interesting. Learning it, I can absolutely infuriate a bunch of people. Elder Luo was extremely cheerful. Xiang Beifei laughed as well. Great. Now I am the outsider. Yi Changfeng helplessly adjusted his glasses. In their leisure clouds and wild cranes group, neither the master nor the junior brother was particularly proper. But as the senior brother, Yi Changfeng knew he had to keep things in check. There had to be one level-headed person to back them up. He really worried about those two. Yi Changfeng was full of sentiment. However, Ho Chenggu is still an SSR after all. He may be arrogant, but he's got genuine strength. You can't underestimate him. Yi Changfeng handed the information he had collected about Ho Chenggu to Xiang Beifei and said, if you face Qingzhou University, and it comes down to a Meridian opening level competition, 9 out of 10 times your opponent will be him. You should get to know him well in advance. Get to know? Xiang Beifei glanced at Xiaohei on his shoulder. He knew him all too well. Everything was clear, including the free shipping instruction manual. If it hadn't been for the presence of too many big shots just now, making a move too conspicuously, and the risk of immediately raising suspicion towards Liangzhou University, Xiaohei would have gone to pick up the delivery already. But even now, they couldn't, in case Ho Chenggu realized something was amiss and decided not to show up for the match. After all, he had to beat him up on stage first. Wei Tong, as the dean, went to a meeting after getting everything settled. Everyone first had a meal at the hotel, but apart from Xiang Beifei, no one seemed to have an appetite. Although Xiang Beifei had put Ren Zhanghai in his place today, Ren Zhanghai had been right in saying that martial arts valued strength above all. Li Zimu and the others looked very serious, pondering over tomorrow's events. They could not yet determine who their opponents would be, but they were sure they would be at least SR, with system talents not weaker than theirs, so they felt uncertain. Xiang Beifei, on the other hand, didn't mind who his opponent would be. It wasn't very important to him. Everyone was already clear on the competition rules. 9 schools would each engage in a match with another, with each school needing to fight 8 rounds, making a total of 36 matches to be held over 2 days. Before the matches, the 2 schools would roll dice to decide who got the choice of Meridian opening or Qi controlling rounds. The winning side could decide which one to opt for. Apart from Liangzhou University, every other school's exploration team had at least one Meridian opening SSR leading several Qi controlling late-stage SRs. This meant that whether the choice was Meridian opening or Qi controlling, each school could field the appropriate students, ensuring a high degree of fairness in the competition rules. Of course, if Meridian opening was chosen, the winning side would gain 20 points, and if Qi controlling was chosen, only 10 points would be added. This was to encourage each school to field their SSRs, broadening everyone's horizons. After all, compared to the Qi controlling matches, those of the Meridian opening were more exciting. If the other side chose Meridian opening and one's own side didn't have a Meridian opening student available due to injury or absence, then a Qi controlling student must step in, leading to a match between Meridian opening and Qi controlling, which was an exception. This year Jojo awakened 2 URs and 11 SSRs. URs did not participate in the competition, so the focus was on the SSRs. Qingzhou University, Yenzhou University, and Jizhou University each had 2 SSRs. This meant, among their 5 students, they could field 2 in the Meridian opening category. The remaining 6 schools, aside from Liangzhou University, which had no SSRs, each had 1 SSR. How the matches would exactly unfold would have to wait until tomorrow. The next day, the weather was clear. This year, as the host, Qingzhou University had put a great deal of effort into the competition. The venue was spacious, and the arena was set up with various formations to accommodate the impact of the Meridian opening rounds. The venue was filled with spectators, buzzing with voices and exceptionally lively. These spectators were mostly students from Qingzhou University, all eagerly anticipating this freshman competition. Those participating were the true elites among the 9 top universities, with the lowest level being late-stage Qi controlling. What was most important is that the competition was entirely between SSRs and SRs. If one didn't count Xiang Beifei, who was an N level. In any case, the competition between elite universities was spectacular and allowed many students to witness why real geniuses were called geniuses. As for the other 8 schools, they could watch the competition at their own universities via live broadcast, an opportunity to learn and expand their horizons, naturally necessitating a live broadcast for student interaction. By the time Xiang Beifei and his team arrived at the arena, it was packed with people. Countless students were cheering, shouting various encouraging slogans with great enthusiasm. The competition among the 9 elite freshmen was a grand event. Officials from the Jiuzhou Alliance also came, and such a spectacle was naturally not to be missed by them. As the dean of the martial arts college, Wei Tong needed to mingle with the other deans and exchange pleasantries with people from the Jiuzhou Alliance. Being originally dispatched from the alliance, he was not unfamiliar with them. Elder Luo didn't bother mingling and led Xiang Beifei and his team straight to their dedicated resting area. The resting area was set up above the spectator stands, enclosed by a special spatial system, invisible from the outside but offering them a clear view of everything outside. Everyone needn't be too anxious, just perform well. We'll roll the dice shortly, and then we can determine whether to proceed with meridian opening or qi controlling. Yi Changfeng was boosting everyone's morale. Li Zimu asked, when facing others, if we win the dice roll, should we choose qi controlling or meridian opening? Before the match between 2 schools, rolling dice gave the winner one chance to choose. Yu Qixin spoke coldly from the side. Need you even ask? If we win, we definitely choose meridian opening. His intention was clear, he meant for Xiang Beifei to handle it. Everyone looked towards Xiang Beifei. Indeed, everyone knew this deep down. This competition was among the elite universities. Unlike their former classmates with S-level and R-level abilities, their opponents were other SR-level elite students with similar talents. This meant that facing unknown SRs, no one felt confident about defeating the opponent. Thus, choosing qi controlling made winning uncertain and making assignments difficult. But if meridian opening was chosen, then Xiang Beifei had to be the one to step up. Xiang Beifei was rather peculiar, and no one really knew his true strength. Although no one had seen him compete against an SSR, these past few days of training had convinced everyone that Xiang Beifei was no ordinary N-level awakener. If all 8 matches were left to Xiang Beifei, the likelihood of winning was higher. But it would be too exhausting for student Xiang Beifei to fight 8 matches in a row. He needs rest too, Shikiao said softly. If we get the choice, I can take the stage. Long Guoqing glanced at the silent Xiang Beifei before saying firmly, I'm not necessarily going to lose. I can also step up, said Li Zimu. Since we've come this far, we might as well give it a try. After all, we are a team. Yi Changfeng said, don't rush to think about these things. We have 8 chances to roll the dice, and the choice might not always be in our hands. What if others get the right to choose? Before the results are out, each of you needs to be prepared to take the stage. Everyone nodded. Xiang Beifei looked towards the competition arena, lost in thought. The competition today was not as simple as those in the school's fighting arena. The arena here was vast, 100 meters in diameter, allowing ample room for various situations to arise. The annual freshman competition was always a grand affair, and with Qingzhou University as the host, the opening ceremony was held with great pomp. The dean of the martial arts college at Qingzhou University, Ren Jianghai, gave the speech. His words carried more weight than even the university's president, given that this was a grand event among the 9 martial arts colleges. Although Ren Jianghai had conflicts with Elder Luo, he was a well-known figure throughout Qingzhou. Anyone who dared to mock Elder Luo was certainly no ordinary character. In this elite student competition, everyone is here to showcase their talent. I assume everyone is already clear on the rules, so I won't go over them again. I know everyone would rather get straight to the point than listen to an old man like me ramble on. So I hereby declare the Elite University Freshman Competition officially open. Ren Jianghai kept his speech very brief. He finished speaking in just 2 minutes, directly stating what he needed to say without any fluff. As soon as his voice fell, The entire venue erupted in cheers. The first match, Jizhou University versus Suzhou University. Representatives from both sides, please roll the dice to determine the choice. A teacher from Qingzhou was in charge of hosting the arena. The team leaders from Jizhou University and Suzhou University quickly stepped up and each rolled the dice. The dice, created by a UR-class individual, had robust anti-cheating measures, ensuring that no one could cheat using their system abilities, including those involving luck or similar factors. In reality, no one would consider cheating. The venue was filled with numerous important figures, a gathering of experts. Every action was under scrutiny, and for matters of face, using system cheats was utterly pointless. The teacher from Suzhou University won the right to choose and, after pondering for a while, opted for the cheat controlling stage of the competition. The reason was simple. For the first match, if you immediately reveal your trump card by sending your school's only SSR, whether you win or not is one thing, but all the other school's teachers were watching. Everyone would analyze what type of system this SSR has, what the characteristics of their abilities are, and how to defeat them. If the SSR's capabilities were wholly analyzed, facing other schools later would probably lead to significant disadvantages. Thus, for the first battle, the obvious choice would be to send an SR in the later stages of cheat controlling. Each school had several SRs, and having one analyzed wouldn't matter much because it might not be the same person competing next time. Even so, the SR level was enough to excite the students from Qingzhou University present at the event. In elite universities, there were only a few SR students. To ordinary S and R level students, they were unattainably high figures. Meeting them alone was thrilling, not to mention that this time, elite students from other schools were also participating. Two young men were already standing on the stage. The student from Suzhou University was sturdy built, with naturally curly wavy hair, thick eyebrows and large eyes, but surprisingly white skin. Host, Zhao Guanyu. SR level evasion system. Stage, later stages of cheat controlling. Zhao Guanyu's system was peculiar. Its operating principle allowed him to gain evasion value, whether evading himself or making way for other universities. You dodged a tree, evasion value +5. You dodged a wall, evasion value +4. Wang Kai made way for you, evasion value +6. The evasion system had a wide range of targets. Even avoiding a lamppost while walking could earn system points. Zhao Guanyu possessed a potent ability named Strategic Retreat. He could use the accumulated evasion values to enhance this ability, making various attacks miss him. The student from Jizhou University was also robustly built, with muscles that seemed to burst with immense power. It was clear at a glance that he was a power-type awakener. Host, Xie Lixing. SR level dynamic system. Stage, later stages of cheat controlling. Xie Lixing's SR dynamic system was also quite strange. The way he completed system tasks was even simpler. Life is movement. As long as you move, you can get stronger. You stretched your hand, your fingers moved, vigor value +7. You twisted your neck moved, vigor value +8. You blew out a breath, your forehead hair moved, vigor value +9. Beifei watched the systems of these two individuals from a distance, finding them quite fascinating. SR-level systems were indeed formidable, appearing as if they could grow stronger by doing almost anything. So far, all the SR system awakeners he had seen had systems that were far from useless. Of course, having a high-level system was one thing, but since system abilities varied greatly, it naturally meant their strengths were not equal. Everyone was just starting out, so predicting their future development was quite difficult. Beifei carefully observed the two systems on stage and made a mental note of their abilities. Teachers from other schools had to watch these two make their moves first, then gather to discuss and analyze the types of systems they had, their strengths, and then instruct their students on how to counter them if they encountered these individuals. It's fair to say that every school's lead teacher had a very keen eye, having seen countless students. With their many years of teaching experience, unless it was a system that was truly inconspicuous, they could guess with considerable accuracy what ability type a student's awakened system had after just one move, at least to an extent of 70 to 80% accuracy. But even the most powerful analysts couldn't completely determine the capabilities of an SR-level awakener. Sometimes, if someone held back a move, the analysts could misjudge, leading to a disastrous counter if they were wrong. Therefore, the special aspects of the systems of students from other schools had to be discussed by 3 or 4 teachers together, sometimes resulting in differing opinions and heated arguments. After all, everyone was guessing, with every possibility on the table. If opinions differed, they would have to consider both possibilities, coaching students to prepare several specific countermeasures when they took the stage in case of any contingency. As a result, every team needed a group of teachers to act as analysts, each conducting correctional analysis. Beifei didn't need all that hassle. He only had to look at the system interface to know exactly how capable a person was. Simple and violent, It's said to have 100% accuracy rate. Xie Lixing looked like someone with ADHD, constantly stretching and warming up since stepping into the arena, rubbing his fists as if he were nervous about the upcoming match to those who were unaware. But in reality, he was accumulating his vigor value. Both contestants watched each other intently, lacking any prior knowledge of the other's abilities, so neither took the other lightly. Shuzhou University, Zhao Guanyu. Jizhou University, Xie Lixing. Enjoy new adventures from Empire. Both introduced themselves politely, as they were strangers with no past grievances, and since they shared the same level of systemic talent and cultivation, there was no need for trash talk. Because nobody knew the extent of the other's system abilities, speaking too much might give something away. After the referee announced the start, Xie Lixing charged at Zhao Guanyu. Xie Lixing was a martial arts fighter specializing in close combat. Each of his moves was laden with intense aggression, as if he was twisting the air with his punches. Powerful jets of air erupted all around, turning into waves of force, bombarding Zhao Guanyu from all directions. However, facing such fervent assault, Zhao Guanyu remained composed. Instead of dodging much, he directly employed his strategic retreat. When Xie Lixing's fist aimed at Zhao Guanyu's face, the air around Zhao Guanyu seemed to twist, forming a smooth flow. Xie Lixing's punch landed on this flow and was immediately diverted to the side. He threw 12 punches, and each one missed the mark. Meanwhile, Zhao Guanyu's system interface kept flashing. You evaded Xie Lixing's punch. Evasion value plus 20. You evaded Xie Lixing's punch. Evasion value plus 20. Zhao Guanyu's system ability was very peculiar. Strategic retreat rendered all of Xie Lixing's attacks ineffective. Yet, he didn't simply stand still. As the air started moving, it also seemed to guide him along. To the onlookers, Zhao Guanyu's movements resembled those of an eel, effortlessly slipping and sliding. Xie Lixing's fierce attacks didn't even come close to grazing the hem of Zhao Guanyu's clothes. Whoosh! A dagger appeared in Zhao Guanyu's hand, its edge menacing. As he dodged Xie Lixing's fist, he instantly flickered to the side and stabbed towards Xie Lixing. Xie Lixing could only turn to avoid the dagger, then threw another punch at Zhao Guanyu. As the fist reached Zhao Guanyu's face, looking sure to hit, Zhao suddenly slid away as if on ice, evading the punch with remarkable agility. Damn it! What kind of ability is this? Xie Lixing frowned deeply. Zhao Guanyu's attacks weren't particularly fierce, but the problem was hitting him seemed near impossible. It was as if Zhao Guanyu could clearly anticipate his moves, knowing exactly when to evade and not giving him a chance. Continuing this way, he was just being led around, and sooner or later, his spiritual power would be drained. This Zhao Guanyu is really strong. Yeah, although both are SR, Xie Lixing can't touch him at all. Many in the audience couldn't help but exclaim, cheering for the intense clash between the two SR-level opponents. Their shadows flickered rapidly on the stage, leaving trails of afterimages. From the looks of it, Zhao Guanyu had the upper hand, as he seemed to dance upon the water's surface, deftly avoiding Xie Lixing's violent strikes. In this way, relying only on brute strength, Xie Lixing instead seemed somewhat passive, even giving off the vibe of being toyed with. Yi Changfeng looked at Li Zimu and the others, saying, You guys analyzed the situation between Zhao Guanyu and Xie Lixing. In this kind of match, who would win? If it were you, how would you respond? Ma Ziqian, who had awakened the Godspeed Guardian system and sought to stay one step ahead, immediately interjected, Zhao Guanyu's reaction is clearly quicker than Xie Lixing's. With his effortless demeanor, dealing with Xie Lixing is more than easy. You answer faster than others, Godspeed value +10. Li Zimu, observing the two on the stage, thought for a moment and then said, It seems that way now, but I find it odd. If Zhao Guanyu is truly stronger than Xie Lixing, he should have directly overwhelmed him. Right, up to now, Zhao Guanyu hasn't made a move, only continuously dodging, Shi Qiao said timidly. Long Guocheng said solemnly, That's because this is not just a simple match, but a competition sought as a team. I think the reason he is not attacking is that Zhao Guanyu is stronger than Xie Lixing and plans to make Xie Lixing reveal more of his trump cards. Li Zimu shook his head and said, That reasoning doesn't hold up, considering that Jizhou University and Shuzhou University are only clashing this once. Forcing Xie Lixing to reveal more trump cards offers no benefit to their Shuzhou University. Instead, it's disadvantageous to them. Normally, if one can end the fight immediately, they should. Since the two schools are clashing just this once, Zhao Guanyu's teammates will not encounter Xie Lixing in subsequent matches. Hence, whatever trump cards Xie Lixing has are irrelevant to Zhao Guanyu. But dragging this out instead allows Zhao Guanyu himself to be thoroughly analyzed, and since they are facing other schools, if they send someone specific to counter him, Zhao Guanyu might end up at a disadvantage. Long Guoqing frowned slightly, realizing that Li Zimu was right, but he still said again, Actually, it doesn't matter. Zhao Guanyu seems like he is playing with Xie Lixing, and this kind of agile martial artist easily confuses those who only know how to throw punches. Ma Ziqian looked at Long Guoqing meaningfully and then asked, Why do I feel like you were talking about Xiang Beifei? Because everyone knows Xiang Beifei's habit in fights is typically just to swing his fists, and it usually settles matters with a single punch. Long Guoqing glanced at Xiang Beifei haughtily and snorted. Elder Luo then asked, So, do you all think Zhao Guanyu has a greater chance of winning? Definitely, Xie Lixing's style of attack is very easy to manipulate. Long Guoqing obviously thought highly of the agile Zhao Guanyu. What do you think? Elder Luo asked Xiang Beifei. Xiang Beifei glanced up at the situation on the stage and said, Xie Lixing will win. Long Guoqing furrowed his brows. Xie Lixing can't even hit Zhao Guanyu. What's he going to use to win? Do you really think all those who swing their fists are invincible? Though he knew of Xiang Beifei's analytical prowess, he had never truly conceded to it. If it were a desolate beast, that would be acceptable, since a desolate beast's weaknesses can be learned from books and then applied in real combat. But the issue is, these were two SR-ranked genius awakeners who had never met before, things one couldn't learn from textbooks. Zhao Guanyu's avoidance of Xie Lixing's attacks, comfortably maintaining the upper hand, was clear. And yet, Xiang Beifei actually believed that Xie Lixing, the rash brute who knew only to throw punches, would win? Xiang Beifei looked at Long Guoqing and repeated, Xie Lixing will win. The Qingzhou University students in the audience were mostly there just to see the excitement. Being only S-ranked and R-ranked, they really couldn't tell much. However, teachers from other schools were quickly analyzing Zhao Guanyu and Xie Lixing, with many arriving at differing opinions on who would win. Most still believed that since Zhao Guanyu was dodging so easily, he should be outperforming Xie Lixing. The two on stage were still fiercely clashing. Using his ability, Strategic Retreat, Zhao Guanyu had formed a protective chi barrier on his surface, which kept Xie Lixing's punches from reaching him, making Xie Lixing quite frustrated. However, Xie Lixing soon noticed the chi barrier on Zhao Guanyu and coldly shouted, Constant avoidance isn't something commendable. Whoosh! A powerful wave of spiritual power surged from Xie Lixing, flowing and spreading in the surrounding air, quickly destabilizing the air that soon whipped up into a storm, sweeping across the arena. Wind and clouds movement. Xie Lixing's system ability wasn't merely about moving himself. He could even cause other things to be influenced by his spiritual power, including a leaf, a tree, and even the air. The air around Zhao Guanyu began to tremble rapidly, and his face shifted slightly because his strategic retreat actually relied on air currents to guide the opponent's attacks and fend them off, preventing them from making contact with his body. But Xie Lixing had clearly realized this. At this moment, Xie Lixing pressed forward, throwing a punch at Zhao Guanyu. Zhao Guanyu tried to dodge again, but his strategic retreat got disrupted this time, failing to move him away from Xie Lixing's fist. Bang! Xie Lixing's fist slammed onto Zhao Guanyu's nose, and the massive force sent Zhao Guanyu flying off the platform. Jizhou University, Xie Lixing wins. The referee announced the result. Long Guiqing's expression froze. He had been optimistic about Zhao Guanyu, but he had not expected that it was Xie Lixing, who had been on the defensive, who finally found a flaw and won the match. Most importantly, this outcome was exactly as Xiang Beifei had predicted. Xie Lixing had indeed defeated Zhao Guanyu, who appeared to be in a superior position, within 2 minutes. You could even see that, Ma Ziqian exclaimed in amazement. Xiang Beifei's judgment is extremely impressive. Shi Qiao's eyes were filled with admiration. Your next read awaits at Empire. Li Zimu was also quite surprised. Although he had felt that something was off about the two competitors on stage, he couldn't pinpoint what it was or decide who would win or lose. He didn't expect Xiang Beifei to have predicted accurately. Elder Luo smiled and inquired, "How did you analyze it?" Xiang Beifei pondered for a moment and replied, Zhao Guanyu's abilities were restrained by Xie Lixing. Around Zhao Guanyu's body, there was a flow of air that allowed him to dodge many attacks, but Xie Lixing's strength was enough to disrupt that flow. Elder Luo nodded slightly. Exactly right. He was a veteran who could effortlessly navigate the complexities of chi-controlling battles. To him, these late-stage fights looked as simple as children fighting, and he saw everything very clearly. A moment later, he asked again, "If you were also in the late stage of chi-controlling, how long would it take you to deal with this SR-ranked Zhao Guanyu?" "1 punch," Xiang Beifei stated simply. So arrogant, Long Guiqing couldn't help but grimace. He really dared to say it. Even though Xie Lixing had defeated Zhao Guanyu, the whole process had taken 10 minutes and was quite strenuous. Yet Xiang Beifei believed he only needed 1 punch? On what basis? Of course, Xiang Beifei had his own understanding. Zhao Guanyu had the strategic retreat, but this ability was relative, meaning that while he could dodge others' attacks, it also meant that his own attacks could be dodged by others. Because when he struck, the airflow would still forcibly lead the opponent away. So to hit someone, he must temporarily remove the airflow of the strategic retreat. But then, he would be left without defensive capabilities. If it were Xiang Beifei, he would just stand there, wait for the opponent to attack him, and then counter with 1 punch. What about this Xie Lixing, then? His attack method seems to share similarities with yours. What if you were at the same level? Yi Changfeng asked. Xiang Beifei looked at Yi Changfeng with confusion, feeling that the question was somewhat unnecessary. Reading Xiang Beifei's gaze, Yi Changfeng soon realized and said helplessly, "Understood. Also 1 punch." Xie Lixing had a powerful dynamic system that could make everything around him move. But Xiang Beifei had abruptly stopped. Still a matter of 1 punch. The first match wasn't very exciting because it was all close-quarter combat without any fancy attacking techniques. However, the two competitors were still SR-ranked late-stage chi controllers, far stronger than many of the students present. By this time, the referee had already announced the competitors for the second match. Qingzhou University against Liangzhou University. As soon as the judges' words fell, the entire venue immediately started whispering again, because everyone knew just how awkwardly poor the configuration of Liangzhou University's freshman team was this year. The other 8 elite universities had at least 1 SSR leading several SRs. However, to outsiders, Liangzhou University's configuration seemed downright pitiful. 4 SRs, alongside 1 N-level, not a single SSR. And being the host, Qingzhou University possessed 2 SSRs. Liangzhou University has no SSR this year, so that means they don't have any Meridian Opening Awakeners, right? Do you even need to ask? The only way Liangzhou University could possibly beat our Qingzhou University is by relying on luck to roll the dice first to get the choice, and then to select the Qi-controlling phase. Only when everyone sends out SR Awakeners does Liangzhou University stand a chance. Not just against our Qingzhou University. It's the same when they face the other 7 universities. Then Liangzhou University is really pitiful. The way they plan to win the contest is by relying on the luck of the dice. What's even more pitiful is that even if they choose the Qi-controlling period, they can't guarantee a win. I think Liangzhou University is probably going to be at the bottom this year. The students from Qingzhou University present were all discussing Liangzhou University with disdain in their language. Without any meridian opening students, if the choice is taken by the opponent, it means the opponent will certainly select the meridian opening match, and then Liangzhou University can only grudgingly send a Qi-controlling awakener, or even more meekly, give up. All eyes fell on Yi Changfeng. As the team leader, Yi Changfeng needed to roll the dice, and he instantly became the focus of all spectators. Thinking that Liangzhou University actually needed to rely on such a tiny die for a chance of victory, many found it laughable. You see, the choice was not that important for other schools because whether it was the meridian opening or Qi-controlling phase, the students from each school were up to par. But not Liangzhou University. Yi Changfeng, listening to the sneers around him, didn't mind. He just calmly watched the Qingzhou University team leader. The team leader from Qingzhou University was named Xiao Jiansheng, an SR-level associate professor, and was no stranger to Yi Changfeng. The two had been rivals back in their school days, though back then, Yi Changfeng had defeated Xiao Jiansheng. Mr. Yi, long time no see. Xiao Jiansheng wore a meaningful smile. Doing all right. Yi Changfeng nodded slightly. So Liangzhou University is pinning its hopes on this die? Xiao Jiansheng gazed at the ordinary die in front of him. His smile tinged with mockery. Yi Changfeng too looked at that die, and thinking of his junior, he sighed softly. Yes, he really was pinning all his hopes on this die. Honestly, the students participating in the contest all had a minimum talent of SR, and they were all in the later stages of Qi controlling. Sending Long Guoqing and the others was indeed not a guaranteed win. But what about sending Xiang Beifei? Although Yi Changfeng couldn't fully grasp Xiang Beifei's strength, this young man had never let him down. It would be best to roll a higher number than the opponent, then choose the meridian opening period and send Xiang Beifei out to beat up those SSRs. Quite a satisfying thought. Is Liangzhou University really planning to rely on luck to get through this year's contest? Xiao Jiansheng scoffed. He thought Yi Changfeng was very eager to secure the choice and then select the Qi-controlling contest. So Xiao Jiansheng's plan was also to roll a higher number than the opponent and then choose the meridian opening, sending Ho Chenggu to thoroughly thrash Liangzhou University. Interestingly, both Xiao Jiansheng and Yi Changfeng's thoughts coincided. No matter who won, this contest was clearly going to be a meridian opening one. Luck is also a part of strength, Yi Changfeng said. Please go ahead, Mr. Yi. Yi Changfeng picked up the die and threw it down simply. 2 points. Yi Changfeng touched his forehead. His luck was not good. Xiao Jiansheng also threw the tamper-proof UR die as usual. For points. Looks like my luck is better than yours today. Xiao Jiansheng's smile grew even more intense. Qingzhou University gets the choice. The judge announced the result. As soon as these words came out, the entire venue started gloating. Now that Qingzhou University had won the choice, one needn't even think about it to know they would pick the meridian opening contest. Haha. Liangzhou University is really miserable. They lost the first match outright. If other schools lose a contest, they can still lose with dignity, but Liangzhou University just gives up straight away. A disgrace among our elite schools. Who's to say otherwise? The students from Qingzhou University were discussing amongst themselves, sure that their school had virtually secured a victory this time. Experience exclusive tales on Empire. Qingzhou University chooses the meridian opening. The judge called out again. All eyes fell on Yi Changfeng again. Even the teachers from other elite schools looked at Yi Changfeng with interest, all waiting for him to awkwardly say the words, "Give up." However, to everyone's surprise, Yi Changfeng actually looked like he had breathed a sigh of relief. Has he lost his mind? Without any SSR from the Meridian opening, he still put on a relieved expression. Best of luck to you. Yi Changfeng glanced at Xiao Jianxing. That's something I should be saying to you, Xiao Jianxing sneered. Yi Changfeng just shrugged his shoulders and didn't react, turning to leave. Even the judge on the stage frowned slightly. He had thought Yi Changfeng would simply give up, but Liangzhou University didn't seem to plan on doing that. Is this her plan to let her student go up? However, the referee, an SSR from the Zhozhou Alliance, won't favor any side. Professional integrity is still maintained, and there's no need to say much, just good judgment is required. Teachers from other schools were also discussing it. Qingzhou University is really lucky to have easily taken the first match like that, the lead teacher from Yongzhou University said with a hint of envy. Indeed, I hope when it's our turn to face Liangzhou University, we can also roll the dice and win the right to choose. Zhao, when you go up there to roll the dice later, you've got to show some spirit. Roll a 6. No problem. I've been very lucky lately. I'll definitely roll a good number. It wasn't just the teacher from Yongzhou University who thought this way. Every university hoped to have a bit of luck when facing Liangzhou University to win the choice right and directly opt for the Meridian opening phase. Then, winning against Liangzhou University would be a piece of cake. The rest room of Qingzhou University. Ho Qingguo was initially worried that Liangzhou University might gain the choice right and he wouldn't be able to go on stage to prove himself. But seeing the outcome, his spirit soared. It seems that fortune is on my side. Ho Qingguo stood up, rubbing his fists and cracking his knuckles audibly. Just thinking about how he was humiliated by Xiang Beifei the previous afternoon made him irate. He couldn't act then because there were too many people, but on the stage there would be no such concerns. To fight as he wished. He intended to show the people from Liangzhou University that being articulate was a quality of literary Dao practitioners. But for martial artists, what matters is the fist. It's a pity that N-level guy probably won't come on stage, he gets away with it, he thought. Ho Qingguo didn't expect to face Xiang Beifei. He figured that since Liangzhou University hadn't forfeited, they would likely send an SR Awakener to compete. But no matter, he had chosen to leave Liangzhou University for Qingzhou University, and now was the time to prove his choice was right. Whoever Liangzhou University sent, he would play with them mercilessly, making it clear just where the gap in talent between them as an SSR lay. Ren Zhonghai looked in the direction of Liangzhou University's rest area with a smirk forming at the corner of his mouth. Luo Yunxian, oh Luo Yunxian, your students lose to mine every year, which means your teaching philosophy is utter nonsense. Why can't your Liangzhou University perform better? He wasn't a match for Luo Yunxian, but his students could win, so he enjoyed provoking Luo Yunxian every chance he got, relishing the sight of him looking flustered and exasperated. Go ahead. No need to show mercy, Ren Zhonghai said. Understood, Dean. Rest assured, I will definitely make them remember this, Ho Qingguo said as he walked out confidently. The moment he appeared, the entire audience erupted into excited cheers. Ho Qingguo! Ho Qingguo! This was Qingzhou University's home ground, and the spectators were mostly Qingzhou University students. Ho Qingguo, being the new SSR student from Qingzhou University, was incredibly popular, with many girls desperately screaming his name until they were hoarse, wishing they had brought megaphones. This was the first SSR Awakener to take the stage this year, garnering unprecedented attention. Ho Qingguo took a step forward and with a light, floating step in the air, landed gracefully on the stage, dashing and elegant. His entrance was exceedingly cool. The teachers and students from the other elite schools also became serious, as they were naturally aware of Ho Qingguo's reputation, the SSR of Qingzhou University, who had already drawn the attention of all elite schools half a year ago. But information on this SSR was sparse. At this time, a figure was also slowly walking out from the Liangzhou University rest area. His approach was much simpler, just walking step by step onto the stage, firmly and without any unnecessary flair. When Ho Qingguo saw Xiang Beifei take the stage, he paused for a moment, then his gaze revealed a trace of ecstasy. It was him. Discover exclusive content at Empire. It was actually him. Liangzhou University had sent Xiang Beifei. He thought at least Yi Changfeng would send an SR Awakener to face him, an SSR, but unexpectedly it was just an N-level Awakener, Xiang Beifei. And this Xiang Beifei was the opponent he had been looking forward to. When everyone saw Xiang Beifei appear, they also began to inquire among themselves. Which SR from Liangzhou University is this? Is he any good? Don't know, wait. I think I remember this person. That's right. He's Zhuzhou's top college entrance exam scorer of the year, Xiang Beifei. Soon some Qingzhou University freshmen recognized Xiang Beifei. During summer break, the incident with Xiang Beifei was a hot topic, and even Qingzhou University students had once been cornered and criticized by the uninformed netizens during the uproar. That's right, Liangzhou University is the only one among the 9 elite schools to have recruited an N-level Awakener, and they even brought this N-level Awakener to compete? Are you kidding? How can he dare to come here? He's already under so much pressure in his own school, and yet he still dares to come to such a place to compete. You may not believe it, but my cousin's friend's aunt's sister is at Liangzhou University, and she says that Xiang Beifei is quite a big deal over there. Rumor has it he's an invincible body cultivator at the chi-controlling phase. Body cultivation? So what? Have you seen who he's up against? That's our Qingzhou University's SSR genius, Hou Chengguo. The guys in the Meridian opening phase. What use is your unbeatable chi-controlling phase? I bet he won't last a minute against Hou Chengguo. The students of Qingzhou University had full confidence in Hou Chengguo. After all, he was a promising SSR from their school. In their eyes, the SSR-level Hou Chengguo and the N-level Xiang Beifei, a body cultivator, on the same stage was like comparing a swan to a toad. This battle almost had no suspense. Hou Chengguo stared at Xiang Beifei and then sneered. I didn't expect you'd actually dare to come. Yesterday, you managed some verbal victories because your teacher was covering for you, but on the stage you won't have that protection. He then looked at his system interface. You have bound a shadow servant, Xiang Beifei. After that, Hou Chengguo's gaze landed on Xiang Beifei's shadow and he sneered again. Last time at Liangzhou University, he had stepped on Xiang Beifei's shadow and developed him into his own shadow servant. His own shadow servant daring to come up on stage to challenge him? That was utterly absurd. Do you know what your end will be if you come up on stage to face me? Hou Chengguo asked tauntingly. Xiang Beifei just looked contemplatively at Hou Chengguo, not responding. That is, without my permission, you don't even have the right to admit defeat, Hou Chengguo said as he rubbed his fists together, a fierce light flashing in his eyes. The most powerful aspect of his Shadow Saint system was that those whose shadow he had stepped on not only could contribute their cultivation level to him, but, if he wished, he could step on the opponent's shadow again and directly control the shadow servant to do anything. An SSR-level system could suppress all lower-level systems. In his eyes, Xiang Beifei was just a bottom-level N-tier, specifically to be exploited and oppressed. Yesterday Xiang Beifei dared to disgrace him like that. Today he was going to make Xiang Beifei pay the price. I will make you kneel and kowtow to admit your mistake. Let you, an N-tier inferior person, understand that the dignity of an SSR tier is not to be violated, Hou Chengguo said fiercely. Xiang Beifei remained calm as water. At this moment, the referee had already said, "The competition begins." Whoosh! A sneer appeared on Hou Chengguo's face, and then in an instant, he disappeared from his spot. As an SSR tier in the Meridian opening phase, his speed had reached a limit. The Shadow Saint system had a very powerful ability called Like a Shadow, which allowed him to appear directly on his opponent's shadow. It was teleportation. Offending me comes with a price. In Hou Chengguo's mind, he had already pictured the next scene. He was going to control Xiang Beifei to kneel and thoroughly humiliate him, letting him understand that as an SSR-level elite genius, he wouldn't tolerate an N-level ant like him causing offense. Being a shadow servant, one should have the awareness of a shadow servant. Hou Chengguo had already anticipated everything. Even his smug expression was ready. But then he saw Xiang Beifei's figure suddenly disappear. Immediately, he felt his entire body suddenly become weak, as if he suddenly couldn't catch his breath, and his spiritual power seemed to vanish in an instant. For a moment, he even doubted whether he had suddenly become a normal person. What was going on? Where was this feeling coming from? Bang! Before Ho Ching-gu could fully react, he only felt an intense pain in his legs as he was kicked, causing him to kneel directly on the ground in a grand gesture. Immediately followed by a foot swiftly falling from the air, stepping on the back of Ho Ching-wu's head, then pressing his head to the ground. Experience more content on Empire. What was that about a price just now? Xiang Beifei asked, puzzled. Ho Ching-wu's entire body stiffened. His mind still hadn't fully processed what was happening. What exactly had occurred? Why was he suddenly kneeling on the ground? He was an SSR of the Meridian opening phase. At Qingzhou University, he was an absolute figure of authority. All the students were fawning over him, ingratiating themselves with him, treating him with the utmost respect. He had always been lofty and untouchable, and no one had ever dared to utter a harsh word to him, let alone show him disrespect. But this N-level Xiang Beifei actually had him pinned underfoot. He actually stepped on me. Ho Ching-gu roared furiously, trying to unleash powerful spiritual power and blast Xiang Beifei away. But Xiang Beifei didn't budge an inch. His foot was like an iron pillar, pressing on Ho Ching-gu's head and pinning it to the ground. How could this be? Ho Ching-gu was completely baffled. He was only N-level in body cultivation. How could he possibly suppress me? Impossible. This must be an illusion. Get off me. Ho Ching-gu bellowed again, angrily struggling to shake off Xiang Beifei. Then he attempted to surge to his feet and crush Xiang Beifei. However, nothing happened. He couldn't even move his head. In the presence of Xiang Beifei, Ho Ching-gu found he couldn't muster any strength at all. He was like an impotent, furiously angry commoner, meekly kneeling on the ground. Ho Ching-gu actually knelt down? He's an SSR. Why would he kneel to an N-level body cultivator? Those who were originally cheering for Ho Ching-gu at Qingzhou were stunned as well. In their eyes, Ho Ching-gu, as an SSR, should be the one standing on the stage, pinning the N-level Xiang Beifei underfoot. Yet, to their complete surprise, the development was totally unexpected. The one kneeling turned out to be the SSR they viewed as untouchably prestigious. Their faces etched with disbelief, they looked at the situation on the stage. The exchange between the two was incredibly fast, nearly in the blink of an eye. These Qingzhou University students didn't even see clearly how Xiang Beifei made his move. They didn't even understand what had transpired. They just felt Ho Ching-gu charge fiercely. Then he was simply, unpretentiously kicked by Xiang Beifei and pinned underfoot. An SSR genius was actually being stepped on by an N-level awakener. This scene was deeply shocking, and it was firmly etched into their minds. Under normal circumstances, such an idea would never occur to anyone, as it seemed a completely impossible event. The N-level represented the lowest echelon of awakeners in this world, while SSRs were the favored children of the heavens, the stars of the future. Having only awakened for half a year, they had already reached the Meridian opening phase, advancing faster than all other students, with a bright future ahead. Originally thinking that Liangzhou University had no SSR awakeners, and that upon encountering Ho Ching-gu, they would likely be utterly routed by him, these Qingzhou University students were prepared for a spectacle. But they never expected that the SSR Ho Ching-gu, the embodiment of thousands of honors, would actually lose to an N-level Xiang Beifei. This was something all the students from Qingzhou University found hard to accept at the moment. You, I am going to kill you. Ho Ching-gu struggled furiously. Too much talk, a bit annoying. Xiang Beifei lifted his foot, and Ho Ching-gu felt the pressure on his head gone. Elated, he immediately raised his head, ready to counterattack. However, Xiang Beifei's foot swept over again. Explore new worlds at Empire. Crack. Ho Ching-gu's jaw was kicked out of alignment, and then Ho Ching-gu could only make incoherent sounds. Fury filled his eyes. Much quieter now. Xiang Beifei looked thoughtfully at Ho Ching-gu and after a long pause said, "It seems your choice back then wasn't very wise. Qingzhou University didn't teach you very well. He paused, then added, but I was taught by many excellent teachers at Liangzhou University. The entire venue was silent, and his voice clearly reached everyone's ears. To everyone listening, Xiang Beifei's words felt piercing. Liangzhou University was this formidable? An N-level they randomly taught could pin down an SSR from another school? Ho Chengwu's face flushed with anger after what Xiang Beifei said. When he was being recruited, he had looked down on Liangzhou University for taking in an N-level student, so he declined the offer to go there, opting instead for Qingzhou University, which he believed had better prospects, the cradle of elite universities. Yet, he never imagined that Liangzhou University, the very school he looked down upon, sent out an N-level that straightaway trampled him, an SSR. He found this impossible to accept. He wanted to stand up and rush at Xiang Beifei, to bring him down and prove himself, but as he faced Xiang Beifei's gaze, he was suddenly terrified by Xiang Beifei's aura. Xiang Beifei stood there, light as a breeze and calm as a pond, his gaze as placid as still water. But his presence was like a towering mountain, so oppressive that Ho Chengwu could barely breathe. How could he be so strong? A wave of shock passed through Ho Chengwu's heart. Off you go. Xiang Beifei kicked again, sending the SSR Ho Chengwu flying off the stage. Whether it was a coincidence or not, Ho Chengwu's body landed precisely in a trash bin by the spectator seats. The whole venue fell silent. Even the teachers from the other 7 elite universities were stunned. With that kick, Xiang Beifei not only shattered the pride of Qingzhou University, but also sent chills down the spines of the other 7 elite universities. Originally, they wanted to see the capabilities of Qingzhou University's first SSR, to prepare their own SSRs accordingly. But they could never have imagined that Qingzhou University's SSR would be completely powerless. He was kicked into a trash bin by an N-level Xiang Beifei. He must be an SSR that came with a phone recharge, right? Quiet, pretty good. Xiang Beifei enjoyed the quiet atmosphere and turned to look at the equally stunned judge, politely asking, "Is it over?" The judge finally snapped back to reality. An N-level newcomer had actually beaten an SSR? He looked at Xiang Beifei incredulously. Even with his high level of professional training, he was shocked, taking a long moment before shouting out the result. Liangzhou University wins. Thank you. Xiang Beifei nodded slightly and then walked toward his resting room amidst everyone's astonished gazes. Ren Zhonghai was completely stunned. He had not anticipated this outcome. His SSR student, whom he had nurtured carefully, had lost to an N-level student brought up by Luo Yunxian. How could this be possible? He had rigorously trained Ho Chengwu and had personally guided him through many mysteries, allowing Ho Chengwu to avoid many detours on his cultivation path. Having taught for so many years and seen many SSR students, Ho Chengwu's system abilities were among the top tier of his SSR peers. Xiao Jianxing was also stunned. He suddenly seemed to understand what Yi Changfeng meant by "wish him good luck." Was he telling our SSR to wish himself good luck? How could this N-level be so powerful? Everyone's mind couldn't work normally, and they even forgot one thing. Ho Chengwu was still lying in the trash can. For a time, no one even bothered to pull him out. Elder Luo stood at the entrance of the resting room, hands on his hips, laughing heartily. From afar, he had seen Ren Zhonghai standing at the edge of the venue with a face as pale as a pig's liver, which made Elder Luo laugh uncontrollably. Ha ha ha! That's so satisfying. So satisfying. Elder Luo was ecstatic. For many years, every time a student from Liangzhou University faced off against Qingzhou University in singles combat, they were almost always defeated, never coming out ahead. This only bolstered Ren Zhonghai's lofty arrogance, which Elder Luo found highly disagreeable. But frustratingly, he had no means to refute it. However, today, Xiang Beifei's kick had thoroughly unleashed all the pent-up frustration Elder Luo had suppressed over the years. Exhilarating. So exhilarating. That's right. Whoever doesn't accept it, kick them until they do. Elder Luo was ecstatic. Xiang Beifei telling everyone that he was educated by many excellent teachers at Liangzhou University made Elder Luo's heart surge with emotion. He knew his decision back then was right, whether it was him, Guo, or Yi Changfeng. They all selflessly imparted their skills to Xiang Beifei without expecting anything in return. The rewards from the awakening system were just accidental bonuses. As a teacher, the most gratifying thing was seeing a student succeed without forgetting their roots. In front of others, just mentioning where one is from or who taught them can make teachers feel proud. The sense of honor for each teacher is that simple. Yi Changfeng adjusted his glasses while looking at Xiang Beifei and smiled wryly. This kid. How come he's gotten a bit arrogant? Xiang Beifei was always amiable, and it was rare to see him act so arrogantly, especially in the elite university competition that was meant to be friendly, aiming to stop at the right moment. But Xiang Beifei had gone straight for getting his opponent stuck in a trash can. It was practically a slap in the face of Qingzhou University. Their host, Yi Changfeng, turned to look at Elder Luo, who was beaming with joy as if he had rejuvenated by 20 years, and had a sudden realization. Or perhaps, the little junior brother did it especially to take up the cause for his master? Yi Changfeng chuckled. Indeed, Elder Luo hadn't had an easy time these past years, destined to be a leading figure, yet confined to counting ducks in the school's forest. Though the old man always acted carefree, he surely must have felt some dissatisfaction. Right? What Xiang Beifei said about being educated by many excellent teachers at Liangzhou University indeed sounded refreshing to Yi Changfeng. Xiang Beifei had already returned, and his expression was still as calm as ever, as if defeating the SSR Ho Chenggu was just a trivial matter. That move of yours, too cool. Ma Ziqian couldn't wait to be the first to praise it. However, Elder Luo patted Xiang Beifei on the shoulder and laughed loudly. Basic stuff? Don't be too proud. He had learned a lot of young people's lingo to use just for teasing. You were a bit heavy-handed, said Yi Changfeng. Xiang Beifei thought for a moment and then said, it was just throwing him into a trash can. Didn't make him lose any arms or legs. I was rather gentle. Yi Changfeng, that was even more distressing than if you had broken one of Ho Chengwu's arms. And you think that was being gentle? Whenever Xiang Beifei did something in the past, Yi Changfeng always found it inconceivable. But now, no matter what earth-shattering feat Xiang Beifei accomplished, he could face it with composure. Beating an SSR? Normal. Throwing an SSR into a trash can? Normal. It seemed this new junior brother was here to temper his state of mind. Come to think of it, his ability to embrace new things had really been getting stronger lately. Yi Changfeng was smiling on the surface, but inside, a bunch of adorable alpacas were dashing around exuberantly in his mind. How much is he hiding? Long Guoqing was also startled. That was an SSR-level awakener, one grade higher than his own SR. And yet, Xiang Beifei just kicked him into a trash can? Long Guoqing knew Xiang Beifei was formidable and an odd-body cultivation practitioner, but in his view, even if Xiang Beifei could defeat other schools' SSR-level awakeners, it definitely wouldn't be that simple. However, who could have thought that Xiang Beifei's victory would come so easily? Recalling what Xiang Beifei had just said about one punch, Long Guoqing suddenly realized that Xiang Beifei might not have been boasting, since Ho Chenggu, an SSR awakener, had been kicked away. Then facing SRs like Xie Lixing and Zhao Guanyu, one punch did indeed seem inevitable. He had always wanted to defeat Xiang Beifei, but with this trend, when exactly could he defeat this monstrous fellow? An SSR-level awakener from Qingzhou University, Ho Chenggu, was thrown into a trash can by an N-level awakener from Liangzhou University, Xiang Beifei. The impact was too strong, so much so that no one cheered for the following match between Jingzhou University and Yuzhou University. How could they cheer? The audience present were all from Qingzhou University. As the hosts, their SSR had been defeated. How could they have any mood left to cheer for other schools? The original plan was for Ho Chenggu, as the host and facing Liangzhou University, to take on Xiang Beifei as a stepping stone for an auspicious start, showcasing the elegance of Qingzhou University. But nobody expected that what Ho Chenggu kicked up was only the dust in the trash can. Before the match began, everyone was jeering at Xiang Beifei, but after it started, their pride, the SSR, ended up kicked into a trash can by someone else. Their school's dignity had been trampled by an N-level awakener. The students of Qingzhou University had shocked expressions. No matter how spectacular the SR matches from other schools were, it was pointless. By now, teachers from other schools had started to pay close attention to Xiang Beifei. They were continuously replaying the video, trying to analyze how Xiang Beifei defeated Ho Chenggu. But the video showed the exchange lasted for less than a second. Ho Chenggu disappeared, reappeared behind Xiang Beifei, and then with a lift of his foot, Xiang Beifei had Ho Chenggu pinned beneath it. Everything happened as if it was meant to be, no fancy tricks involved. A single strike finished the battle. What could they glean from that? Nothing at all. If it hadn't been seen with their own eyes, they might even have suspected Ho Chenggu deliberately lay down to be stepped on by Xiang Beifei. How could Xiang Beifei of Liangzhou University, an N-level body cultivator, be so powerful? Many schools were unsettled. Subsequently, another piece of news spread. It said that Ho Chenggu initially chose Liangzhou University, but seemed to look down on Liangzhou University because they recruited the N-level Xiang Beifei, so he came to Qingzhou University instead. So today, SSR Ho Chenggu was defeated by the N-level awakener he looked down upon. Isn't that a slap to his face? Or perhaps, could Ho Chenggu, the SSR, have been sent by Liangzhou University as a mole in Qingzhou University, specifically to be defeated on the stage by Liangzhou University, just waiting to hand over 20 points to Liangzhou University? Undying loyalty to Liangzhou. Wow, we're just on the first level, and you're already how many levels deep? Jokes aside, no one really thought Ho Chenggu would be foolish enough to do such a thing, because he was an SSR, a genius with limitless future prospects. How could he do something so humiliating? The only explanation was that Ho Chenggu, the SSR who disdained Liangzhou University, was genuinely taught a lesson by an N-level sent by Liangzhou University. Liangzhou University had acted to show Ho Chenggu just how wrong his original choice was. This slap was exceedingly loud. With the first SSR defeated by an N-level in one move, the following matches suddenly became bland, for the Qingzhou University students had no spirit left to cheer, creating a gloomy atmosphere. Compared to previous competitions, such an event was incredibly rare. Now, teachers from other schools that hadn't yet encountered Liangzhou University were anxiously discussing strategies. They realized that Liangzhou University wasn't an easy target, and that the so-called N-level Xiang Beifei might not be as simple as he seemed. They then shifted focus on how to deal with Liangzhou University. So much so that 2 hours later, when it came to Yongzhou University facing Liangzhou University, Yongzhou University won the role for choice, and their lead teacher Zhao breathed a sigh of relief. They had the right to choose. They had the right to choose. Because just before, when Qingzhou University and Liangzhou University rolled the dice, Zhao was envying Qingzhou for winning the choice to select the Meridian opening bracket, a guaranteed 20 points against Liangzhou University. At that time, they were also thinking of choosing Meridian opening when facing Liangzhou University. But now, Qi controlling phase. I pick the Qi controlling phase, Zhao firmly declared. Without understanding what exactly N-level Xiang Beifei's strength was, Yongzhou University dared not send out their only SSR to face Xiang Beifei head-on. Continue reading on Empire. Better safe than sorry. Their SSR student losing to another school's SSR student wouldn't have much impact, as winning and losing among SSRs is quite normal. But if an SSR were to lose to an N-level, that would be extremely embarrassing. The most important thing was not being certain about what kind of entity N-level Xiang Beifei was. Even if their SSR could defeat Xiang Beifei, it would probably take their best effort, which would then reveal all their strengths to the other schools. They would become targets for those schools. Yi Changfeng glanced calmly at the teacher from Yongzhou University, then walked back to his own resting room. I'm up. Before Yi Changfeng could ask, Ma Ziqian hurriedly spoke. Enjoy new stories from Empire. You recommended yourself faster than the others. Godspeed value +4. Let me do it, Long Guoqing said. You're too hasty. Running too fast. You might even run out of the ring without realizing it. I have a sense of proportion, Ma Ziqian said. rubbing his hands together eagerly. Xiang Beifei had been watching Yongzhou University's rest area. He had seen those 5SR system interfaces, and after pondering for a moment, he said, "Let Li Zimu go instead." "Why?" Long Guoqing demanded, unconvinced. Xiang Beifei explained, "In the early rounds, there's no need to reveal too much strength. All the schools are analyzing the students who go up, then strategizing on how to handle these students. It's not wise to send you two up. So sending Li Zimu is suitable? Are you looking down on Li Zimu or what?" Long Guoqing asked. Li Zimu smiled and said, "He's not looking down on me, but because I have a variety of abilities that are hard to figure out, while your traits are too obvious." Li Zimu himself was a very smart person. He understood what his role was when he went up. Ma Ziqin fought using speed, Long Guoqing fought by glowing or glaring, almost wearing their abilities on their faces, which made them easy to guess by the experienced professors from the martial arts college. But Li Zimu was different. He had the ability Poetic Kill, where each verse was a power. Using one ability meant he still had others from the poetry realm, so even if one ability was analyzed by others, it wouldn't matter. "Exactly, it's better for Li Zimu to go up this time. You guys can talk later." Yi Changfeng agreed. Since Mr. Yi had spoken, Long Guoqing and Ma Ziqin had no choice but to stand down. Li Zimu appeared on the platform, and Yongzhou University also sent up a male student. Host, Disheng. SR level, Splendid Rivers and Mountains System. Realm, Late Qi Mastery. This system possessed the ability to change topography. He could turn an area into a valley, or a vast abyss, or even transform the land into a vast sea. Of course, the larger the area changed, the more spiritual power it consumed. Currently, his cultivation was only at the Qi Mastery stage, meaning he couldn't change too much terrain, but it was still possible within this 100-meter ring. Yongzhou University, Disheng. Liangzhou University, Li Zimu. Both sides still politely introduced themselves. They didn't talk much, and after stating their identities, they immediately entered the combat mode. A strange aura spread from under Disheng's feet, and in the blink of an eye, the 100-meter ring started to undergo bizarre transformations. The solid concrete floor cracking instantly. Scorching red-hot magma flowed through the cracks, emitting intense heat and occasionally splashing tiny sparks. Disheng directly changed the terrain, turning the entire ring into his battlefield. Whoosh! As the magma flowed vigorously, it spread under Li Zimu's feet, and the concrete under him was also melting, turning into boiling magma. Li Zimu pondered for a moment, stepped on the ground, and then a wave of spiritual power spread from his footsteps, encircling him, containing the approaching magma. But by now, the area around Li Zimu had turned into a magma world, bubbling and rolling with heat waves, distorting the air around. Only the less than 1 square meter of ground under his feet was still resisting the magma, and he stood like a rock in a sea of magma, at constant risk of being submerged. Disheng stood on the magma, the summoned magma having no effect on him. The magma, with its intense heat, was a real and present danger to anyone, and a mere slip could be enough to burn someone into a pile of char. Whoosh! Disheng waved his hand, and the ground's magma surged up violently in a hot wave, forming a pillar of flames like a roaring fire snake, coiling towards Li Zimu. Li Zimu, watching the roaring pillar of flames, remained calm. He leaped high into the air, dodging the assault of the flame column. However, as he jumped, the concrete ground where he had been standing was instantly devoured by the magma. But as he rose into the air, a column of ice surged under Li Zimu's feet, supporting him, and in his hand appeared a sword formed from concentrated cold air. The ice sword traced a thick streak of light in the air, striking the oncoming pillar of flames. The cold, white energy collided fiercely with the red column, causing the two vastly different energies to clash, and erupted into a powerful roar. The strong light swept out, instantly illuminating the entire arena, invigorating everyone present. So far, the fight between these two was the most eye-catching, with previous SRs engaging in close combat or ending their fights quickly due to system counteraction. However, both Li Zimu and Di Shang were skill-type awakeners, their powers extremely formidable, manifesting various intercrossing glows upon their attacks. Boom! The fiery magma and cold ice intertwined in the air, exploding into countless dried-up fragments, making the air constantly tremble from the clash between ice and magma. Amazing! Di Shang is an awakener with a magma-type system, right? That must be the case. Then Li Zimu is an awakener with an ice-type system. I didn't expect two elemental-type SRs to match up so perfectly. The venue, previously subdued due to the incident with Ho Chengguo, quickly buzzed with excitement again. The students from Qingzhou University drawn by the formidable presence of the two fighters. Only such battles were captivating enough for them. The confrontation between ice and magma continuously exploded in the air, sending rolling energy waves throughout the venue. Swoosh! Countless pillars of flame continually rose from the magma, and Di Shang, taking advantage of the magma's cover, had already approached Li Zimu, placing a hand on the surging ice from Li Zimu. A smirk of triumph appeared on his face. Everyone thought he was a magma-type system awakener, but they were completely mistaken. His ability was not limited to controlling magma. He could actually control terrain, with magma terrain being just one aspect, including various ice mountains as well. Crack! Crack! The ice that Li Zimu had condensed, touched by Di Shang's spiritual power, seemed to be stripped of control in an instant, breaking away from his perception. Simultaneously, the ice turned around and stabbed back towards Li Zimu, a very peculiar ability. Li Zimu frowned slightly, tossing the sword in his hand. The ice sword instantly transformed into countless shadows in the air, each shadow a sword of ice, glinting coldly, meeting the uncontrollable ice columns. Bang! 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 These ice fragments, interlocking with each other, clashed violently with the ice swords, shattering the ice columns. The icy debris scattered into the air, falling into the scorching magma and directly melting away. Di Shang, controlling Li Zimu's ice columns, continued to advance. Originally, the ice columns summoned by Li Zimu had turned into a tool for attacking Li Zimu himself. Li Zimu kept retreating, dodging his own ice columns. His figure flickered, but he was facing not only the furious Di Shang, but also his uncontrollable ice columns, with various pillars of flame constantly rising behind him targeting him. Li Zimu could only avoid them hastily, continually summoning his own ice columns to block the flame pillars. But the more he summoned ice columns, the more uncontrollable they became, giving Di Shang more ice columns to control. You have nowhere to retreat. Di Shang stood on Li Zimu's ice columns, looking down loyally at the frantic Li Zimu and chuckling. Li Zimu was besieged by countless pillars of flame sealing his retreat. As he turned to face the blazing columns, Di Shang had already flashed out from the ice pillars, extending his leg and kicking towards Li Zimu. Unable to dodge in time, Li Zimu was struck by Di Shang, retreating continuously as the lava swept up, binding him tightly. The heat wave ignited his clothes in an instant. Li Zimu's complexion changed slightly as he desperately used his spiritual power to resist. Whoosh! 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 Find your next read at Empire. The ice pillars from all directions were now forcibly controlled by Di Shang. The sharp icicles instantly surrounded Li Zimu, pressing against his neck. You've lost. Di Shang, standing above the ice pillars that trapped Li Zimu, smiled slightly, looking down at Li Zimu with the poise of a victor. The audience in the arena also exclaimed in surprise, marveling at Di Shang's formidable strength. They hadn't anticipated Di Shang to be so powerful. From the onset, he took control of the entire arena with his potent and explosive attacks, altering the terrain. Then in the skirmish rapidly seized control of Li Zimu's ice pillars, turning them against Li Zimu. Such tricky tactics earned praise from many students. So strong. An awakener from SR is indeed impressive. Li Zimu from Liangzhou University probably didn't expect Di Shang from Yongzhou University to have such bizarre abilities. Right? Indeed, Li Zimu is still one step behind Di Shang. Many students felt a sigh of regret for Liangzhou University's Li Zimu, But the thought that an SR from Liangzhou University had been defeated was at least a silver lining, suggesting that this year's students from Liangzhou University weren't all that formidable. This brought some balance to the minds of the students from Qingzhou University. Di Sheng, looking at Li Zimu trapped by his own hand, turned his head proudly toward the referee, awaiting the announcement. The referee glanced at Di Sheng, then shouted, "Liangzhou University. Li Zimu wins." What? The moment, the entire arena stood still in shock. Many found it strange. Had the referee misspoken? But that shouldn't be the case. The referee was an SSR-level awakener from the Zhuzhou Alliance, and with so many elite school leaders and teachers present, could the referee really make such a minor blunder? Di Sheng's facial expression darkened, and he questioned, "What does this mean? Li Zimu from Liangzhou University wins? He is restrained by me." Out of caution, he took another look at Li Zimu, who was pinned by the icicles against his throat, immobilized on the spot. Li Zimu was still trapped by him, and he himself was still standing atop the ice sculpture above him. "Thanks for the match." A clear and leisurely voice came from afar. Although this voice came from the mouth of Li Zimu right in front of him, it also seemed to emanate from a distant place, making Di Sheng unable to ascertain for a moment. Then, the lava on the ground appeared to be frozen by something. The bubbling lava also ceased its dance, and the temperature quickly plummeted, turning dry and cracked, as if bereft of the enhancement of spiritual energy, lifeless and still. The icicles that trapped Li Zimu suddenly began to move, receding from his body one by one, disappearing back to where they appeared from, as if being rewound. Li Zimu himself, like an unfathomable shadow, blended rapidly into the air and vanished. The lava on the ground dissolved, returning to its original form as the arena. Li Zimu was still in the arena, standing where he had first stepped onto the stage, as if he had never moved. However, Di Sheng was standing below the stage. How could this be? Di Sheng's pupils shrank slightly. What exactly happened? Hadn't he just restrained Li Zimu? How could Li Zimu stand on the stage as if nothing had happened? And still in the same spot? Doubts filled Di Sheng's mind. Suddenly, he began to ponder, had Li Zimu actually moved just now? He had moved. He had been pressured into retreating step by him. But it also seemed as though he hadn't moved, as if he had been standing there all along. Then who was the person he had been fighting? The students from Qingzhou University also looked on in bewildered confusion. They thought the battle had been won by Di Sheng, yet nobody had anticipated that after the lava had cleared, the person who fell off the arena was Di Sheng. Li Zimu from Liangzhou University had won? How did he win? Most of the audience, consisting of S and R-level students, couldn't understand how SR-level Li Zimu managed to do it. It seemed only the SSR-level referee knew how Li Zimu achieved his victory. Li Zimu didn't explain and left the arena to go back to his rest area, while Di Sheng still stood there, unable to comprehend what had happened. "You've got some skill, Li Zimu. I had no idea you could do illusion techniques. Good lad. Why haven't we ever seen you use them when we hunted desolate beasts together?" said Ma Ziqian in surprise. "That wasn't exactly an illusion technique," Li Zimu replied. "Then what was it?" Ma Ziqian asked, puzzled. Li Zimu pondered for a moment, then shook his head. "I can't explain in detail. It's a power I've just recently grasped." After a pause, he said to Xiang Beifei, "Thank you." "No need," Xiang Beifei replied. "For when dreams are taken as life's concerns, then the concern of life is but a dream." This was a new ability that Li Zimu realized from poetry. At the start of the school year, he had grasped only 2 lines of poetry, one being "Chaotic stones pierce the sky, with waves crashing ashore, amassing 1,000 heaps of snow," and the other, "The vast sea's railing is 100 zhang ice." But his abilities were far more than just those 2 lines. Over the past few months, he had been understanding other verses, and he grasped many powerful lines, which he then adopted as his abilities. And this phrase, transient dream, was one of the new abilities he had realized. He treated the events in dreams as real-life experiences, and real-life experiences as if they were just dreams. He could substitute dreams for reality, and likewise turn reality into dreams. Illusory yet genuine, fictitious yet true. When Li Zimu tried to grasp this poetry, it was not as easy as it might seem, and he wrestled with it for nearly 3 months without a clue. Just 2 days ago, Xiang Beifei had told him about the 2 desolate beasts, Transient Dream and Silent Centipede, and assisted him in his cultivation with spiritual power, which finally allowed him to puncture through the last layer of gauze. Just now in the arena, it seemed like Li Zimu was fighting Di Shang, being pushed back step by step, but in reality he was just standing there. Enjoy new adventures from Empire. However, just because he was standing still didn't mean he was doing nothing. In his mind, he was still visualizing a confrontation with Di Shang. In other words, he was indeed fighting Di Shang, but only in a dream. But the battle in the dream was no different from reality. He mixed reality and dreams, making it impossible for Di Shang to distinguish between the two. Di Shang just kept attacking, ignoring the boundaries of the arena. So Li Zimu sold a flaw in his dream and lured Di Shang out. In the dream, it seemed that Li Zimu was being defeated by Di Shang, but in reality it was Li Zimu who defeated Di Shang. Liangzhou University had won 2 consecutive matches. Whether it was the N-class Xiang Beifei who went first, or the SR-class Li Zimu who went second, their abilities had drawn the attention of other schools. In the eyes of many experienced teachers, Li Zimu's SR was categorized as a dream illusion type system awakener. Such dream illusion type system awakeners could be countered with just spiritual power. However, Li Zimu was not their biggest concern. They were more worried about Xiang Beifei. Up to now, no one knew exactly how Xiang Beifei had defeated the SSR Ho Chenggu, who was a Meridian opening period SSR and had boasted arrogantly before the match, only to be knocked down with a single strike. Switching to another SSR, none believed they had the capability. For now, they could only hope that other schools would face Xiang Beifei before encountering Liangzhou University, letting Xiang Beifei reveal more of his capabilities, so their own SSR students could be better prepared and not lose as miserably as Ho Chenggu did. The competitions of other schools on the arena were still ongoing. This Gao Zhua from Jizhou University has a somewhat bizarre ability. His opponent's attacks are actually confiscated. What exactly is his system? Long Guoqing stared intently at Gao Zhua on stage. Both being SR level, Gao Zhua's abilities were something Long Guoqing couldn't decipher even after a long observation. Gao Zhua's opponent, Lin Fan from Yangzhou University, was a powerful controller of thunder. His thunder attacks were terrifying, turning the entire arena into a sea of lightning, with thick pillars of lightning striking back and forth like a torrential downpour of thunder and lightning, reminiscent of an immortal undergoing tribulation. The exploding columns of lightning scared all spectators. Each bolt seemed powerful enough to shatter the arena, and standing in that sea of lightning for even a second seemed like it would result in instant destruction. Yet, Gao Zhua was unafraid in the midst of the lightning sea, merely dodging some of the bolts, but many were outright ignored, and his attacks were peculiar as powerful desolate beasts rampaged wildly across the field. Rather than calling them desolate beasts, it would be better to say they were beast pills. Each beast pill floated around Gao Zhua, with powerful desolate beast phantoms circling above, each possessing a variety of powers. Wind, fire, thunder, and lightning, all in full array. Gao Zhua himself hadn't engaged Lin Fan in combat. He merely stood in place, then commanded these desolate beasts to attack Lin Fan. Boom! A fire-eating wolf spat out a massive green fireball, which whistled through the air, passed over a strong ant standing before it, and then crashed towards Lin Fan. Lin Fan's body was shrouded in powerful lightning, which shattered the green fireball. Then he threw a bolt of lightning towards the strong ant. However, when his lightning struck the strong ant, it did no damage. Instead, the ant protruded its stout and sharp mandibles, chopping directly towards Lin Fan's arm. Lin Fan abruptly withdrew his hand, but at that moment, the fire-eating wolf spat another green fireball, which passed through the body of the strong ant and hit Lin Fan, making him spit out a mouthful of blood and stagger back with a somewhat pale face. However, he did not fall, panting heavily. He watched Gao Zhua with a serious expression. It was clear he was not so easily defeated. Swish! A wild spirit horse roared on the side, lifting its iron-like hoofs and forcefully stomping on the ground, tearing it open. Black smoke burst out of the fissures, carrying a strong corrosiveness. Lin Fan's expression was very stern. Blue lightning burst among the black smoke, demolishing it, and he immediately threw a bolt of lightning backhandedly. This time the lightning zigzagged and struck the wild spirit horse, instantly blasting it to pieces. He just now couldn't hit the strong ant right before him, yet he was able to strike the wild spirit horse on the other side. Something strange, Li Zimu said. Logically, the strong ant's strength was much weaker than the wild spirit horse. But while the wild spirit horse was destroyed, the strong ant still remained, very peculiar. This Lin Fan possesses an unrivaled lightning system. His lightning is top-notch. But what ability does Gao Zhua have? Is it just summoning desolate beasts? Long Guoqing asked gravely. Lin Fan's lightning was terrifying, even when facing it directly. He couldn't say he could wholly avoid those bolts, but Gao Zhua moved through them effortlessly. Yi Changfeng pondered for a moment and then said, Lin Fan's ability is clearly evident. Gao Zhua cannot block his lightning. You would notice that in his exchange with Lin Fan, Gao Zhua only dodges some of the lightning, but there are many bolts he does not avoid and lets hit him directly, and yet he remains unharmed. This means he selectively dodges the lightning. Exactly, Lin Fan's lightning is powerful. None of you would feel good if hit. Gao Zhua is no exception. However, from his combat process, Gao Zhua seems to be some type of system awakener specializing in rules. Elder Luo said, watching Gao Zhua on the stage. A rule-based system awakener? Ma Ziqian asked, confused, looking at Elder Luo. A rule-based system awakener means that within his controlled system domain, only one rule is allowed. Only those who follow this rule can hurt him. Those who do not comply cannot touch him at all, Elder Luo explained. He then pointed at the strong ant on the stage and said, think about it, the strong ant is only at the mid-Qi controlling stage, but the wild spirit horse has the strength of the late Qi controlling stage. Then why does the strong ant, only a meter from Lin Fan, not fear Lin Fan's attack? While the wild spirit horse on the diagonal was destroyed by Lin Fan, the wild spirit horse was destroyed by Lin Fan's sheer power, which seemed normal, but the weaker strong ant, which also fears lightning, was oddly unscathed. Could his domain rule be that strong ants are immune? Long Guoqing asked. Of course not, you will face all sorts of strange abilities in the future. These include both cultivators and desolate beasts. Those that are straightforward are easier to handle, but the more complex ones, without the corresponding analytical ability, could easily lead to major losses, even if you have a higher cultivation level. So you need to think carefully about the reason. After this match ends, I'll explain further. With Elder Luo's insight, he had already guessed the answer. As someone who had seen more capabilities than these students had walked roads, his judgment was far from ordinary. Long Guoqing and Ma Ziqian exchanged looks, pondered for a long time, but still could not figure out the reason. Even though they were SR-ranked awakeners, they were just freshmen, and guessing such complex systems was too difficult. Xiang Beifei, you've already guessed it, haven't you? Shi Qiao whispered. Oh, you mean those two? I kind of figured out a little. Xiang Beifei nodded. Currently, everyone present was guessing what the other school systems were, with everyone enthusiastically guessing, professors and students alike joining in the effort in hopes of thoroughly understanding the opponent's details so they could send the corresponding students to target them. Guessing systems had become a major event. Xiang Beifei was also seriously participating in this. He looked at other people's system interfaces until his eyes almost tired out. Look carefully and then make thorough records, writing down the system types of students who had competed from various schools, to later serve as a reference for Li Zimu and the others. After all, Elder Luo could guess them, so he also wrote a rough outline. There was no need to be too detailed, and he would not be suspected of anything. Long Guoqing originally wanted to snort with suspicion, but remembering what had just happened, he forcibly swallowed the nasal sound back down. Because since then, Xiang Beifei had almost accurately analyzed the opponent's system abilities in every competition, and although his analysis was not as precise as Elder Luo's, it was already very close. Soon, Lin Fan, who was on the stage, was knocked off by a diamond mammoth controlled by Gao Zhua at the Qi-controlling middle stage. Jizhou University wins. The referee announced the result of the match. Lin Fan climbed up from the stage, looking very dissatisfied because his strength was obviously very powerful, and he even felt that he was stronger than Gao Zhua by a notch. But for some reason, he just couldn't fully exert the power of lightning on the stage. All right, analyze it yourselves. What did you notice? Elder Luo asked. Ma Ziqian immediately jumped in. Is it a rule that can't harm weaker, desolate beasts? Lin Fan heard a wild spirit horse at the Qi-controlling later stage, but couldn't hit a diamond mammoth and giant ant at the Qi-controlling middle stage. So I guess Gao Zhua's system belongs to this type that can't damage opponents of a lower realm than himself. No, there were 2 diamond mammoths on the stage just now. He killed one but didn't hit the other. It shouldn't be that. Li Zimu denied Ma Ziqian's idea. Long Guoqing and Shi Qiao racked their brains, but their understanding of systems was still too little, and they couldn't come up with any possibilities for a long time. Xiang Beifei, what do you think? Elder Luo asked. Is it a chess-like spatial rule, right? Xiang Beifei said. Chess-like rules? Long Guoqing and others were slightly stunned. What kind of ability was this? That's right. Elder Luo nodded appreciatively. Then what kind of chess do you think it is? I'm not sure. Better let the professor say it. His experience is richer. Xiang Beifei still decided to let Elder Luo do the explaining. As the idle expert of the team, Xiang Beifei felt it necessary to let the other teammates understand Elder Luo's ability. Elder Luo looked meaningfully at Xiang Beifei and then said, If you look closely, you will notice that Gao Zhua used his spiritual power to turn the entire stage into a chessboard. The ground of the stage was filled with all kinds of invisible grids, and once Lin Fan was unwittingly drawn into this chessboard, he had to abide by Gao Zhua's rules of the chessboard. And the type of this chess is Chinese chess. Chinese chess. Everyone looked quite surprised. Was there such a capability? Professor, I don't quite understand. Is it a Chinese chess-like system? How can such a system be used in combat? Long Guoqing wasn't interested in Chinese chess. He vaguely understood how to play Chinese chess, but couldn't understand how such rules could apply to combat. After all, with so many desolate beasts on the stage, didn't it look more like jungle chess? Never underestimate any system ability. Even literary Dao systems, if properly utilized, can exhibit very powerful combat capabilities. Like Gao Zhua, he used the system of Chinese chess. If you watch the process of the battle carefully, you will notice that those desolate beasts formed of beast pills are like chess pieces, and every time they attack, the beast pills follow the movement rules of the chess pieces. They are regular. Elder Luo turned to Xiang Beifei and said irritably, What are you standing around for? Weren't you drawing on the whiteboard just now? Bring it out. I'll use your whiteboard notes to explain to them. It's quicker. Oh. Xiang Beifei obediently pulled out the whiteboard so that his teammates wouldn't suffer losses when they encountered these experts. He drew an illustration for every battle and taught them how to respond. Enjoy new tales from Empire. He had already drawn a few points on the whiteboard and written some names. Just now, the fire-eating wolf, the giant ant, and Lin Fan were all in the same straight line, with the fire-eating wolf behind the giant ant. The flames it spat out went directly over the giant ant, then were blocked by Lin Fan, and then Lin Fan's attempt to hit the giant ant failed. Based on the rules of Chinese chess, what is the reason? Elder Luo pointed to Xiang Beifei's whiteboard and asked, I don't really understand Chinese chess. Ma Ziqian muttered. It's the cannon. That fire-eating wolf represents the attack method of a cannon in Chinese chess. To destroy the target, there must be a piece in front to act as the cannon's mount. The giant ant was the mount for the fire-eating wolf's cannon. Elder Luo explained. Then why couldn't Lin Fan hit the giant ant? Long Guoqing understood the rules of the cannon. He is a person, not a chess piece, right? That's the formidable aspect of this system's rules. If an opponent touches the attack of any chess piece, then he is forcibly considered as that chess piece. That is to say, when Lin Fan caught the attack of the fire-eating wolf, he himself was also forcibly considered as a cannon. Therefore, even though the weaker giant ant was right in front of him, He couldn't hit the giant ant, because the rules of Chinese chess do not allow such an attack by a cannon. He could only target that fire-eating wolf. Elder Luo pointed at Xiang Beifei's blackboard and found that Xiang Beifei had already marked everything for him, which was quite a relief. Everyone recollected the recent battle and seemed to have a vague impression of it. Enjoy new tales from Empire. So why was Lin Fan able to destroy the wild spirit horse earlier? The reason is quite simple. The wild spirit horse attacked him, and by destroying its attack, it meant that the rules on the chessboard had changed for Lin Fan. He had been transformed into the knight piece in chess. Knights move in an L shape, and just so happened to be in line with the wild spirit horse, enabling him to strike at it. Shi Qiao asked softly, "But I remember once when his attack on the wild spirit horse didn't work. Why was that?" That was because the giant ant blocked the knight's hoof. So, even if Lin Fan moved in an L, he couldn't reach the wild spirit horse. In chess, the position of the giant ant is called blocking the knight's leg. Elder Luo intended to draw a diagram himself, but soon found that Xiang Beifei had already prepared a demonstrative icon for blocking the knight's leg. He couldn't help but take another glance at Xiang Beifei. This kid always seemed to know what he was about to explain. Was he a worm in my stomach? Lin Fan's lightning attacks are very powerful, but some strikes Gao Zhuo must dodge, while others he simply lets hit him. This is because those lightning attacks, if not in accordance with the rules of chess, cannot affect Gao Zhuo. Although Lin Fan's broad-range lightning attacks were powerful, most of them were nullified by the rules of the chessboard after Gao Zhuo dragged him into his chess system. Only a few that accidentally matched the rules of chess could affect Gao Zhuo, forcing him to dodge. To put it simply, Gao Zhuo's system unnoticeably sets its own rules. If you don't realize this from the beginning, like Lin Fan flailing wildly, you will only end up doing a lot of futile work. Hence, you must all be aware of this from the start, Elder Luo said. Everyone, apart from Xiang Beifei and Yi Changfeng, suddenly realized. So for those who don't know how to play chess, Gao Zhuo is invincible. Ma Ziqin couldn't help saying. He also didn't understand chess well. Although he was fast, facing Gao Zhuo, he probably wouldn't fare much better than Lin Fan, because if he rushed in without following the rules, he wouldn't necessarily be able to touch Gao Zhuo. Right, so you should never underestimate any opponent. Everyone's system is very powerful, all ranked SR here, and you have nothing to be proud of. Whether it's Long Guoqing's Radiance Abound, or Li Zimu's In and Out of Dreams. When facing Gao Zhuo, if you haven't recognized his system rules, your abilities are essentially useless, Elder Luo said with seriousness. He knew about Long Guoqing and their abilities, mostly from what he had heard from Xiang Beifei. Understood. Long Guoqing nodded solemnly. He now understood that Elder Luo was not just a mere security guard at the school, but also a formidable retired SR professor who only respected those with high talents. Elder Luo was someone he revered. This time, after hearing Elder Luo mention Radiance Abound, Long Guoqing didn't even feel it was wrong. It seemed he forgot his ability was not called Radiance Abound, but Dazzling Brilliance. Probably he got used to being called that by Xiang Beifei, and it had carried over. Is there no way to counteract it at all? Li Zimu asked. Of course, there is. His ability is powerful against those who are unaware, but for those who know, the weakness is very clear. To be effective against others with his chess system, he must also abide by the rules of this ability. His role on the chessboard is like the general who oversees everything, and that's his weakness, Elder Luo explained. In the game of chess, the general can only move within the 9-palace grid and cannot leave this area. This means that Gao Zhuo himself cannot freely charge out of the 9-palace grid to confront Lin Fan. He can only control the desolate beast piece within the range of the 9-palace grid. Once he leaves the 9-palace grid, the entire space of the chessboard becomes completely invalid. At that moment, Lin Fan's attacks will no longer be constrained by the rules of the chess system, and with Lin Fan's domineering thunder, he can easily crush Gao Zhuo, either defeat him directly by his own rules or force him out of the 9-square grid to invalidate his system space. His means of attack aren't very sophisticated, He can only rely on the beast pills of sealed desolate beasts. Just remember this point when you encounter him next time, Elder Luo explained. Gao's chess system wasn't very powerful. He simply killed desolate beasts and sealed their beast pills in his system, using them as chess pieces on his board as a part of his combat strength. Once a chess piece was destroyed, he needed to find another beast pill. He had practically no combat strength on his own. Because it's his system, the rules are the same for him, yet he achieves a remarkable feat by using desolate beasts as chess pieces. Especially since his chessboard is obviously invisible and doesn't show up. Many people lack strong enough perception and simply cannot detect this. That really is an eye-opener. Li Zimu couldn't help praising. Who would have thought that Gao Zhua possessed such a system? A normal person entering Gao Zhua's system space silently wouldn't think of these things. Most probably suffer like Lin Fan, finding it very stifling. Elder Luo glanced at Xiang Beifei's blackboard and his eyelids twitched. This kid, his analytical ability has almost caught up to mine. At this rate, it seems I can hardly teach him anything anymore. Elder Luo, touching his forehead, had originally planned to give a proper lesson today, showing everyone how an experienced person like himself analyzes system capabilities through combat. However, it seemed that Xiang Beifei didn't really need his teaching. That blackboard was clear. The kid obviously knew, but still claimed he only guessed a little, which really deserved a beating. However, Xiang Beifei clearly had no intention of overshadowing the mentor, still letting Elder Luo do the explaining, and Elder Luo was aware of this. Actually, he might not only have the chess system. I always feel he should have other types of chess skills. You guys could also learn animal chess, Go, and such. Maybe he can also apply these rules. You can't afford to take this lightly, Xiang Beifei spoke up. Gao Zhua's system wasn't just a simple chess system, but rather an SR-level unparalleled chess player system. Normally, just by playing chess, he could gain system value. Currently, he was only in the chi-controlling phase, mainly relying on his chess ability, but he also had rules for Go and animal chess, among others. Even Ludo was included. If his strength increased and the sealed desolate beasts were more powerful, he would definitely be a martial artist not to be underestimated. Elder Luo nodded slightly and said, "Exactly. So you guys need to prepare more meticulously. Don't confine yourselves to routine. Many people have very odd systems. If you can't figure them out, you'll suffer a big loss." Everyone noted these words, and following that, Ma Ziqian even started learning chess on the spot to avoid being disadvantaged the next time they encountered someone like Gao Zhua. In 2 days, 36 matches were to be held, which meant 18 matches per day. There were 9 matches in the morning, each with varying durations. Some matches ended in just 10 minutes, but others took half an hour or even longer. Lunch break was even skipped, continuing the matches right after. The competition was still fierce, and about an hour later, it was Liangzhou University against Yenzhou University. I heard that this year, Liangzhou University was initially in talks with 2 SSRs, but apart from Ho Qinggu who changed his mind to join Qingzhou University, there was another SSR named Chen Baiwen who also changed his mind at the last minute and went to Yenzhou University. Do you think they'll send out Chen Baiwen against Liangzhou University to prove himself? It seems a bit uncertain. Our Qingzhou University was beaten by Xiang Beifei, so without knowing Xiang Beifei's strength, Yenzhou University wouldn't recklessly choose the Meridian opening stage. Let's see who gets to choose first. The students of Qingzhou University were all buzzing with discussion. Liangzhou University versus Qingzhou University was a featured match. Initially, they all considered Yenzhou University of the same rank as their real competitor, whereas they never really got serious about N-tiered Liangzhou University. After all, the number of SSRs and URs at Yenzhou University was the same as at Qingzhou University. Last year, Yenzhou University was only slightly behind Qingzhou in terms of points for killing desolate beasts and finished second. It was a close defeat. This year, Yenzhou University was obviously out for revenge against Qingzhou University. However, the newly prominent Qingzhou University got a shocking start this year when they were defeated embarrassingly by Liangzhou University student Xiang Beifei. So, Yenzhou University might very well rise this year. The students of Qingzhou University were vaguely hoping that Yenzhou University would get a beating from Xiang Beifei too. Only then would they feel somewhat better. We can't beat an N-tier, and neither should you, or else it looks like we're really bad. So the situation was becoming a bit strange. N-tiered Liangzhou University, though demolishing Qingzhou University's reputation, was oddly enough receiving support from all the Qingzhou University spectators watching. One could even faintly hear a few cheers of Go Liangzhou University. Yi Changfeng went up to draw lots, still composed and relaxed as the team leader of Liangzhou University. His confidence was evidently solid. Having Xiang Beifei and Elder Luo, two keen-eyed strategists, deciding what level of competition to choose and who the opponent would be suddenly didn't seem like a problem. Qi controlling stage? Bring it on. Meridian opening stage? They couldn't ask for more. Toss a 1, it's a sweep. Toss a 6, it's no quarter given. Roll the dice any which way, big or small, it didn't matter. Capricious. But it was different for the opponents. Yenzhou University's teacher clearly preferred the Qi controlling stage, so they were hoping for a high roll. However, this time Yi Changfeng got to choose. The opponent rolled a 2 while he rolled a 4. Stable and balanced. Meridian opening stage, Yi Changfeng confidently declared. The atmosphere among the teachers from Yenzhou University was quite tense. They obviously had anticipated this outcome, but they didn't shrink back. Despite their wariness of Xiang Beifei, their own SSRs weren't the same as those from Qingzhou University, and who would come out on top was still undecided. Experience new stories on Empire. Which of you two will go? Professor Yang Chengze, the team leader from Yenzhou University, scanned his two SSRs with a serious expression and asked. The two SSRs, one named Yu Hongba and the other the currently controversial Chen Baiwen. Yu Hongba glanced at Chen Baiwen. Their relationship wasn't the best. Both being SSRs of the university, each had their own faction within, constantly competing against each other. Now, during the freshman competition, although the two had temporarily set aside their differences to unite against outsiders, under the current circumstances, Yu Hongba didn't want to risk going up against Xiang Beifei. He wasn't confident. Chen Baiwen, you can't back down from this, can you? This is your beef with Liangzhou University. Handle it yourself, Yu Hongba said solemnly. If the opponent had been another SSR, he might have stepped up. Even if he had lost, it wouldn't have mattered. Losing to another SSR Awakener wasn't too embarrassing. It's common to be outplayed among SSRs. But losing to an N-tiered seemed too shameful. Yu Hongba didn't want to risk that. He wanted to play it safe. Chen Baiwen, a tall, skinny young man in yellow, looked a bit like a bamboo stick, and his eyes were particularly peculiar, as if something was swirling inside them, barely discernible like sand. He didn't look too happy because he had seen Ho Chenggu once before. Although they hadn't fought, he was very wary of Ho Chenggu. Their aura was evenly matched as SSRs, and they both understood what such mutual aura implied. Neither could confidently claim to overpower the other. But Ho Chenggu had lost to an N-tiered student they looked down upon. Chen Baiwen was no longer so sure of himself. Yang Chengze looked at Chen Baiwen, weighed the pros and cons and said, Chen Baiwen, from what I see, you've got to be the one to go this time. Losing a match isn't shameful, but losing morale is. Besides, with your capabilities, you might not even lose. This is also your chance to prove yourself. As a professor, Yang Chengze was extremely familiar with Chen Baiwen's capabilities. He saw Chen Baiwen's strength as formidable, especially in a competitive setting like this, which greatly favored him. Chen Baiwen thought of his SSR system abilities and gradually gained confidence. This was his battle for honor. If he could defeat Xiang Beifei, not only could he prove that his decision to leave Liangzhou University wasn't wrong, but he could also demonstrate that he was better than Qingzhou University's Ho Chenggu. Ho Chenggu might have been merely careless, but he doesn't understand my system abilities either. As long as I'm careful, I can definitely catch him off guard. Chen Baiwen looked at his system interface. Apart from the current Professor Yang, no one else at the school knew what his abilities were. Every university had a strong UR-level confidentiality system, and SSR data was absolutely secret. Before competitions, it was difficult for other schools to gather this information beforehand. They could only access some trivial, public information. He then looked towards Xiang Beifei, who was already on the stage, and walked out calmly. Under the spotlight, Chen Baiwen from Yenzhou University was already standing opposite Xiang Beifei. Everyone was staring at the two of them. This match was still the center of attention, because this was the second match featuring an SSR participant, and notably, both of Xiang Beifei's opponents were SSR level. Xiang Beifei thoughtfully observed the opponent's SSR system. This ability seems very interesting. The more Xiang Beifei looked, the more astonished he felt, as SSR systems were very powerful, and Chen Baiwen's ability was also quite special. Yenzhou University, Chen Baiwen. Liangzhou University, Xiang Beifei. Xiang Beifei responded and continued to look at the opponent's system interface. Chen Baiwen stared intently at Xiang Beifei. He wasn't taking anything lightly. Since Ho Chengguo was defeated in a single strike, he was very cautious. I am not that kind of superficial SSR like Ho Chengguo. Chen Baiwen stared hard at Xiang Beifei. Good. Xiang Beifei responded. Seeing that Xiang Beifei seemed to dismiss him, Chen Baiwen was quite annoyed. Don't think you're great just because you defeated Ho Chengguo. His ability might have just been countered by yours, but I am different. Having heard Xiang Beifei practiced body cultivation, Chen Baiwen decided to keep his distance. He highly rated his own strength. His system abilities were very powerful, and he never thought he would lose to anyone, especially on this stage where his abilities would be exceptionally strong. Xiang Beifei responded again. His tone was very calm, showing no perturbations. But it was precisely this calmness that irritated Chen Baiwen. No one had stepped up to the stage yet, and almost everyone present didn't know what his system ability was. Any sensible cultivator, not knowing what the opponent's system was, would surely take their opponent seriously. This guy doesn't even know my system. Why is he so arrogant? Perhaps because he was eager to defeat Xiang Beifei to prove that choosing Yenzhou University was the right decision. Chen Baiwen placed great importance on this match. But his eagerness to prove himself increased when he realized Xiang Beifei's dismissive attitude, further fueling his anger. An SSR like himself was being undervalued by this N-level guy. You are too arrogant, Chen Baiwen said sternly. Arrogant? Xiang Beifei looked at Chen Baiwen in confusion. What has this guy imagined on his own? Standing on the stage, he was seriously evaluating Chen Baiwen's system abilities and contemplating what made them special, and a few casual responses had led to accusations of arrogance. I am seriously studying you. Xiang Beifei shrugged, finding it somewhat inexplicable. Chen Baiwen didn't waste any more words. He decided to use his strength to crush Xiang Beifei and uphold his dignity as an SSR. Discover exclusive content at Empire. Whoosh! With a gesture from Chen Baiwen, the entire stage was instantly covered with blistering, exploding magma. Rolling magma surged, and a heat wave swept across everything. The entire stage cracked again, swallowed by the rolling magma, turning into a sea of lava and heat waves. Many spectators were also astonished when they saw Chen Baiwen's move. Is that magma? How is it so similar to the one Disheng just used? Many people exclaimed. Could it be that this is an SSR-level magma system awakener? Everyone speculated. If that's the case, it's quite magical. An SR-level magma controller and an SSR-level magma controller had similar system abilities? It's understandable that systems with similar abilities exist, but people had higher expectations for SSR-level Chen Baiwen. It's rare to see an SSR-level make a move, even in the case of Ho Chengguo's previous fight where he hadn't shown his true capabilities. If Chen Baiwen's ability was only to this extent, it would disappoint many people. Whoosh! The surging magma immediately swept up beside Xiang Beifei, bringing a strong wave of heat towards him. Xiang Beifei looked thoughtfully at Chen Baiwen standing before him. Others might think Chen Baiwen was also a controller of magma, but Xiang Beifei alone had a thorough understanding of Chen Baiwen's system. The system's name was the SSR-level time trace system, quite peculiar. It could reproduce anything that had happened within a certain area, using his spiritual power to show the scenarios that occurred in that area once again. The length of time that could be reproduced depended on his cultivation level. Currently, Chen Baiwen could reproduce traces from up to 3 hours ago. That meant, within these 3 hours, whatever competitions unfolded on this stage, whatever capabilities were used, whatever happened could be replicated by Chen Baiwen using the residual traces of time. At the moment, the scene that Chen Baiwen was recreating was precisely the ability of Di Sheng. You have replicated Di Sheng's magma attack. Sands of Time plus 15. Discover hidden content at Empire. The sweltering magma roared down. This magma's power was even stronger than when Di Sheng had used it because Di Sheng was merely in the later stages of Qi controlling, whereas Chen Baiwen himself was a master of the initial stages of meridian opening, meaning the time shadows he replicated were many times stronger than Di Sheng's. Boom! The magma smashed towards Xiang Beifei, but Xiang Beifei merely dispersed it with a simple punch. Chen Baiwen wasn't surprised that Xiang Beifei could scatter this attack. It was merely a test for Xiang Beifei. He needed to first determine what abilities Xiang Beifei possessed before he could use the time shadows of the whole arena effectively against him. Whoosh! 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 Amidst the rolling waves of magma heat, sections of ice suddenly shot out. Clearly, the time shadows left by Li Zimu's abilities. You have replicated Li Zimu's ice attack. Sands of Time plus 17. This guy's punch just now was pretty fierce, but luckily, he doesn't know what my ability is. I'll use their own abilities against him first to test his limits. He doesn't know about my system, and I can definitely catch him off guard. Although Chen Baiwen was very proud, he wasn't foolish in battle. He understood how to use his advantages wisely, not rushing blindly into combat, as he would first test Xiang Beifei's strength, then make appropriate adjustments to defeat him. Using others' abilities against Xiang Beifei not only hid his own strength but also confused his opponent, making Xiang Beifei unable to guess his system abilities. Chen Baiwen knew the strategy was very correct. Anyone who couldn't completely guess the opponent's system abilities before clashing, or guess them wrong, would definitely be at a great disadvantage. Chen Baiwen was very confident in his system ability. His actions would absolutely mislead Xiang Beifei's judgment. Whoosh! Whoosh! Ice spears, from various directions and angles, darted towards Xiang Beifei, their trajectories extremely tricky. Xiang Beifei thoughtfully watched these ice attacks. Using Li Zimu's abilities against him was something he hadn't anticipated. Chen Baiwen's ability, honestly, was very powerful, but its drawback was also very clear. Time shadows, replicating things that happened in this place, meant that even if Chen Baiwen could replicate Li Zimu's ice, he couldn't change the location of the ice. That is, the way Li Zimu had used the ice in the arena, Chen Baiwen could also only use it in the same way. He couldn't change the trajectory of the attack. Swish! Without any hesitation, Xiang Beifei dodged the ice spears and leaped towards Chen Baiwen, landing a punch on him. When Chen Baiwen saw Xiang Beifei approaching, he wasn't panicked. A massive gorilla suddenly appeared in front of him, pounding its chest as it met Xiang Beifei's fist. You have replicated Gao Zhuo's desolate beast. Sands of Time plus 15. This gorilla had been summoned by the former SR-level student, Gao Zhuo, who possessed the unparalleled chess player system. Originally, the gorilla was one of Gao Zhuo's sealed chess pieces,